everybody, and welcome to an all-new episode of the LoudCasa Talks. My name is Nate, and alongside my good buddy Omid.
Hey, what's up, loud crowd and Casa crew? How y'all doing?
All right, so it's been a while since we have done a LoudCasa Talks episode. So how has it been since the last couple of weeks?
Well, I have to say it's been pretty busy for me. Holiday season means busy season for us retail workers. Am I right? Well, the good thing is, us retail workers. I mean, me and my own,
right.
people.
Okay.
But anyway, now the good thing is that it's not as crazy or overpacked as I thought it would be. So thankfully, I got some air to breathe while I'm working. So, but other than that, there's been some. Let's just say something about watching some holiday specials, watching the totally underwhelming Game Awards show, and of course, just recently, we were watching a football game.
Oh my god!
Which is why we've been delaying this.
This is not a technical difficulty issue. It's Omid trying to delay our stream because Omid is currently watching a Raider game.
Yeah, my bad. But needless to say, spoiler alert: my team just lost in the worst and most stupidest way possible. So let's just leave it at that.
Okay, look, I don't know how to explain it. But how safe is it over there in retail? You're just currently working and not a lot of people being contacted with. You just want to make sure that you're safe while you're working.
Oh yeah, the good thing is that we take precautions very seriously. We reduced the capacity to 20%, and not only that, but we also have pixel glasses in between us and the customers. And we also have a system where when you wait in line, it has to be 6 feet apart.
Yeah. And to put on to your Raider rant that happened right now, look, my team is not even doing well. We're missing the playoffs too. So come on. We're going to bear the loss here, all right?
Yeah, so rip both our teams, right?
Exactly. Anyways, the holidays are just going crazy right now. I know that next week is actually Christmas, so at the moment I'm still currently like getting stuff. Although what kind of sucks is that things when you buy online, they don't arrive quickly like a couple months ago, because right now when you're buying stuff and they're trying to ship it off to your like house, for example, they don't come in like until a week or two later. So that's the bad part about it. So I'm like, okay, am I making sure that my friend will get this gift and this person will get that gift, or else they will not have a Christmas gift for Christmas, that is. So I'm just kind of worried about that. Hopefully things will get better when it comes to shipping. But besides that, things are okay with my end. Everything looks safe. Although what's kind of scary is that sometimes when the businesses are all around, we have a lot of people come by, there's a possible case that COVID might actually come in. We actually did get emails saying that there's been exposure to a person who has COVID-19, but luckily we're not close to that person. So knock on wood, we're good. But to say the least, let's just hope that things will get better, hopefully, because we got a vaccine out now. So I don't know.
Yeah, we got a vaccine coming out soon, which is good. We're making good progress. It may not be available to all of us anytime soon, but at least it's good to know that it's in good progress. That's what matters.
Yeah, that's true. And I just want to say to everybody out there, just to remind everybody that just to stay safe, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart, social distance and everything. I know that everybody wants to come, join together in Christmas right now. It's not a good time right now because this pandemic is still going on. So just a little warning out there, just try to be safe as much as you can. And yeah, this is a bad disease that we're having. So yeah.
Yeah, honestly, despite the fact that it's holiday season, just try to keep yourself safe, because the most important thing is that you want to spend the holidays like 10 years upcoming. Like that's more important, like the upcoming holidays in the upcoming years, as opposed to like risking yourself just for the holidays this year. Just
right.
Putting it out there.
Right, for sure. All right, so with that in mind, that's our introduction. Let's go ahead and go straight to our recent news. All right, so to our recent news right now. Well, after the premiere of the brand new episode Cursed, we were surprised to see a brand new Lincoln and Ronnie Ann vlog where they opened up packages they sent for each other. Oh, sorry. There we go. Ronnie Ann received a comic book, a map of Royal Woods, highlighting their favorite spots. Lincoln received the Lucha mask, the video they recorded from Fairway University, and so much more. So, how did you like this new vlog, Omid?
Well, it was so good to see the comeback of the Lincoln and Ronnie Ann vlogs. I mean, seriously, I've been wondering when those would turn up again. It really has been a couple of months since the last vlog. Also, Bun Bun! Bun Bun is back! Bun Bun makes an appearance! Hail Bun Bun!
But the thing is that Bun Bun was just like a little plushie that Lincoln tried to trick with Ronnie Ann. So it's like, yeah, what a little appearance of that little plushie.
Bun Bun!
I get it. You love the bunny. I thought it was pretty cool. The other thing too is that they still interact with each other, even if it's not, part of an episode or anything. There's still crossover in this part here, but the thing is that they're still, chatting with each other, doing some vlog stuff. And I thought this was actually pretty cool that they're unboxing stuff, which kind of reminds me like the Christmas is coming soon. So I would not be surprised if they start having another vlog too about Christmas. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they actually do have one. Okay, so one other thing I also want to set up is how did you like the callbacks from the episodes from the show?
Oh, they were a nice touch for sure. The Musclefish comic, the Lucha Libre mask, and the dreaded Fox quintuplets. Quintuplets, sorry. Pronunciations. And not to mention the flashbacks from previous episodes such as Dance Dance Resolution, Save the Date, and of course, The Loudest Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Boy, I am grateful for it all. I'm gonna say. Grateful for it all.
Yeah.
But the best part was, of course, the pie prank. When Lincoln opened the box and the whole pie splatted on his face. It was a callback to Back Out There. Oh my god, I was laughing so hard. I was just like, yes, they remembered.
Is Loud House crew just continuing on with just making us remember all the stuff that happened in season 1, which is like great because people need to know about how awesome these episodes were back in season 1 and all. And just the fact that they called back a Musclefish comic that we never heard of for such a long time. With the Fox quintuplets in that season 3 episode Sitting Bull. I thought we'd never see them again, but here they are actually getting announced by Lincoln. And of course, the Loudest Thanksgiving where they both like partied. I thought that was pretty cool too. Speaking of which, with that whole thing that they got, I mean, Ronnie Ann got a map and Lincoln highlighted every spot that they liked, including John Juan's French next buffet, the Dance Dance Revolution place. Did you feel that there was like some Ronikin vibe happening in this vlog episode?
Honestly, I would have to say that in this vlog, there was more of a Ronikin friendship vibe rather than a romantic vibe. Now, of course, some could argue that the Dance Dance Revolution scene is a Ronikin romantic vibe, but let's be honest, like even by the way that it looks, Ronnie Ann and Lincoln still remain friends.
Yeah, but I mean, like from the recent episodes we've got from Curse to, what was it, the very Casagrandes Christmas. I mean, there's some vibes out there that just tells me that Ronnie Ann and Lincoln are like they're getting closer to it. Like what Sunny said before, it's like there's a possible chance that there's a Ronikin thing that's gonna happen eventually. Like they're trying to start things up. I get it that they're friends and all, but if they were to actually make that relationship happen, that'd be really sweet. But who knows how the writers are going to do it. That just leaves us people from the audience just wondering what's going to happen next. Maybe another vlog will come up where they actually submit love letters or something. I mean, there's so much Ronikin vibes out there in that vlog episode. It kind of makes me feel like it's going to happen.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of those relationships like Ronnie Ann and Lincoln is one of those things where it could work as both a friendship and a relationship. Like it could go like either way. The chemistry is still real. The chemistry is still natural. And either way, they have a strong, genuine bond. So honestly, when it comes to either they should stay friends or be a couple, honestly, I'm at the point where I'm just like, anything goes. Either way, you got yourself a good duo.
Right, exactly. And if there's possibly more episodes where those two are going to be together, we just hope that it's going to happen with like a good vibe of hopefully having Ronnie and Link together. I don't know, that's my end game there, but let's see how it goes. All right, so go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. All right.
No, go, you go.
I've actually heard that a good series finale would be a Lori and Bobby wedding. That's what I've heard.
That'd be pretty cool.
You know what would be a possible series finale, something to cap off both LoudCasa and Casagrandes. What about like a time skip episode where there's a Lincoln and Ronnie Ann wedding?
I mean, oh no! You're gonna get my hopes up here. Look! They just have a wedding with Bobby and Lori, and then, they think about their future, and it's gonna be Ronnie Ann and Lincoln in a wedding. Ooh, this is spicy now.
Oh man, anything could happen.
I wish they could do that, but we have more seasons of LoudCasa and Casagrandes to go with right now, so. For the time being, I'm okay with what's happening here. I don't know what the writers are doing, but I'm okay with what's happening here. All right, so let's move on to our next news. So for those that have not noticed yet, new episodes of the Casagrandes have already been out. It's not on the network right now, but it's on Amazon Prime Video. For as low as $2 each, you have access to see the newest episodes of the Casagrandes. Now, it's not on Nickelodeon, and it just randomly popped up on Amazon Prime Video. So when you saw that, what was your initial reaction, Omid, when you saw those new episodes?
I sort of had mixed feelings about this. Now, while I was excited that we get to see the newest episodes early, even if it's through an alternate source like Amazon Prime, I was thinking, like, how is it that it goes to Prime Video before it gets aired on Nickelodeon? I don't know, but regardless, I was excited, and of course, since I am a Casagrandes fan and I use Amazon Prime Video a lot, I of course bought these episodes for a very low price. Trust me, it is worth it.
I mean, for those who have not ever thought about actually buying it on Amazon Prime, I think, well, the thing is, like, some people from international wise, like not from the United States, cannot access Amazon. So they're kind of stuck in a limbo here. While for us, we could be able to actually buy it in Amazon Prime. So, it is kind of it's kind of like sucks for those that are out of the country. So for those who cannot be able to see it because they don't have Amazon, you're pretty much stuck in limbo right now. What can you do? You're probably gonna be downloading off a website or doing something about it to get your episodes. So I felt like I understand why Amazon released these out right now, because there's a huge miscommunication between Nickelodeon and Amazon. So Amazon just released it out, and Nickelodeon didn't even tell them to say, stop this, hold your horses before we release the episode. So this is a huge mix-up. No matter what, we were treated with 4 new episodes of the Casagrandes. So that was great for us, but for everybody else who couldn't be able to actually watch it on TV, or can't be able to actually, spend $2 to buy those episodes, they're pretty much can't do anything about it unless they want to like go to a website and actually download the episodes, which I don't recommend. You're not helping the writers or anything, or the network itself.
Piracy is wrong, okay? I'm just saying. Like, piracy, some people could argue that, some people may say that piracy isn't a serious crime, but honestly, to me, it is.
I mean, like, it's just more.
Just watch it legally. Just watch stuff legally. It's not hard.
Just be civil about it, Okay, so this whole thing. Do you think it's just a fluke, or do you think it should be a normal thing?
That would really depend on if this is going to be a thing in the future, or let's say if they notice that it was a fluke, and therefore they make sure that it gets aired on TV before being released to Prime Video or iTunes or anything like that. Or honestly, some other reason, some other third reason. Honestly, this is a situation where I have to say it's actually quite unpredictable. Like, you never know what's going to happen in the future, whether or not they're going to make the same move, or they're going to make the same mistake as they did when they released the 2 episodes before being aired on Nickelodeon. And they just realized it, so they're not going to do it anymore, or they still haven't noticed it, and they're still the cycle's going to keep going on. honestly, who really knows?
Yeah. To say the least, this whole miscommunication needs to stop, and Nickelodeon needs to be on top of things when it comes to new episodes. But them and their scheduling issues. They got to stop that. They really have to do something about their schedules, and we've been talking about this for so long. Nickelodeon is not focusing; it's just focusing on SpongeBob and Loud House, but they're not focusing on like It's Pony or Alvin and the Chipmunks or any of the other cartoons. And that's the reason why they're kind of being a mixed up bag right now. And like I said, this is one of the problems Nickelodeon has, and hopefully they stop this issue. I mean, if they're gonna continue with this, you have to tell everybody, hey, the episode's out. Please buy it on Amazon Prime. Ask your parents for $2 to buy the episode. It's not that hard. But I don't like this whole cheesiness because it's like, yeah, you're watching this before Nickelodeon. If anything, you should just like put it up on a website like Netflix, for example. You should just keep it like that. But no, they decided to just stick it with Amazon Prime. I don't know. This is just a complicated problem, but I hope they fix it up so that it can actually be running on the network instead of actually just having us spend money to actually, buy it on Amazon.
Yeah, I agree. Like, honestly, I'd rather just watch it on TV as opposed to paying $2 to $3 every time. Each time a new episode comes up on Amazon Prime Video. It's definitely like more beneficial for my wallet.
Right, that's for sure. All right, well, with that in mind, that's pretty much it for our recent news. Let's head over straight to our episode reviews, which is pretty much the Christmas episodes of the Loud House and the Casagrandes.
The juicy stuff. Oh boy.
All right, so let's head over to our first episode that aired last 2 weeks ago, Saturday. It's the Casagrandes special. Oops, sorry. Very Casagrandes Christmas. The synopsis here is Ronnie Ann is excited for a perfect Christmas, but visits from the neighbors put her dream Noche Buena, aka Christmas Eve night, on hold. So as they get ready to celebrate Las Posadas, which FYI, I didn't know about this actually. It's a celebration of the journey of Mary and Joseph. If you know the story of Jesus Christ and all. We get to see the entire family back, including Arturo. How did you like these moments as the family celebrates Las Posadas?
Well, first things first, I gotta say this. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad.
We're gonna put that song up there. Yeah, that's for sure.
Put that song up in your Christmas playlist, okay? Definitely do that. You won't regret it. Anyway, I do love that we got to see how the Casagrandes celebrate Christmas. Since we've already seen how the Louds celebrate in their own traditional way, given 11 Louds to leap in, and another particular episode that we're going to touch upon in quite a bit. But with the Casagrandes, since they are a Mexican family, they have their own traditions celebrated by their people. I do love that the series uses Las Posadas, yes, as an important part of the plot, while educating kids on what it's all about and why it's important to the Casagrandes, particularly Ronnie Ann and Bobby. So I feel that this sort of subject, it works both in context and out of context. It works in context because it's a particular holiday, a particular event that is very integral to the episode's plot. And that sort of holiday, that sort of tradition really does factor into really, into establishing and to fulfilling the plot and the heart of the Casagrandes Christmas episode, make it for what it is. And it also works. It also works another way too, because it actually, in some way or another, since Casagrandes is aimed towards kids, it teaches them the importance of Las Posadas and how the Mexicans and Latin Americans celebrate Christmas in their own way. So it gives them an idea of what Mexican celebration and Mexican culture is like. It's pretty much all similar to how I discussed about Croat and how Mexicans and Latin Americans celebrate the Day of the Dead.
Right. Because, Mexican culture has their different ways of celebrating holidays, and I never heard about this Las Posadas until now, so it's much more of a learning lesson for all of us how a Mexican family or their Mexican culture celebrate Christmas, and a way they do it is Las Posadas, which I didn't know was like a couple of nights of them just celebrating Christmas, and the last one is actually them, caroling, which you see in this episode. But to say the least, I love the fact that the family's all back together, and we also get to see the whole cultural stuff of what they do for Las Posadas, like Carl rigging a piñata. Yeah, I don't know.
That's typical Carl. That's typical Carl behavior for you. Just scheming little scamp. Scheming little scamp for you. That's Carl Casagrande.
Yeah, that's him. There was also that one time where I think Carlota was making some decorations for the house. I thought that was cool. And of course Arturo. I mean, the whole family's back. The whole Santiago family's back. The fact that Arturo's actually with the Casagrandes and they're actually hanging out together. They're not bickering. It's a Christmas thing. It's a Christmas miracle actually to have Arturo in the house. But yeah. I'm still wondering where that story is, where Arturo left the family. I'm still wondering when we're gonna have that. But at least for this one little moment, we get to see Arturo and have all of them having a ball just in this Christmas. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, it's just so good to see all of them celebrate Christmas in all a way, like I said, and not only that, but also have Arturo being integrated into the plot as well, and give Arturo an important role to play as well when he goes to shop in High and Buy.
Oh yeah, I kind of feel bad for Arturo though, because he was mostly in that area buying a lot of masas.
Holiday shoppers are crazy, trust me.
Well, then again, we're gonna be talking about this next subject now. As they're about to celebrate Las Posadas for the night, the neighbors would eventually visit the Casagrandes with their plans ruined. Hence a stall for their plans for the night. How did you like this part of the episode?
Okay, now this may be just a me thing, but am I the only one who felt that Ronnie Ann was a bit too selfish in this episode? Okay, I get that this is their first Las Posadas with Arturo, her father, but Ronnie Ann is too focused on going to Las Posadas that she forgets how her neighbors have it worse than she does because of their plans being ruined. I actually agree with Rosa when she said to Ronnie Ann that she needs to have more sympathy for the neighbors. I mean, seriously, the way she goes on about it, like, seriously, this is the level of selfishness that we have seen, this is a level of selfishness that we have seen from Lincoln in several episodes of The Loud House. So we expect this type of selfish behavior, this selfish thought process, more from Lincoln than Ronnie Ann. I mean, not to say that Ronnie Ann hasn't ever been selfish, but like the way she goes on about it in this episode compared to the others is, to me, it's a definition of first world problems. Like, really, Ronnie Ann? It's first world problems. Like, everyone's holidays has been ruined. You're not the only one who's going through what you're going through right now, Have some sympathy. I'm just saying.
So I want to put up a point here that the episode was all about Ronnie Ann having a perfect Christmas. So when you're kind of focused on having a perfect Christmas Eve, it kind of makes sense why Ronnie Ann kind of wanted to, get the neighbors out. And to say the least, like, it was awesome to see the neighbors, but at the same time, yeah, I understand why Ronnie Ann got a little bit pissed of being, in the mood for Christmas time and having them come over and things get ruined because dinner now gets more and more packed and everything. So, I to say the least, like, I like to see the neighbors all here again. And the fact that we actually do get to see a couple of secrets that I didn't know about. Apparently Corey is Mr. Nakamura's son. I didn't know about that. That was interesting. I mean, maybe in your case, when you saw that, what did you think?
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I sort of knew it. I sort of knew that Corey was, because think about it, they kind of look the same. Their character design, their faces especially, like, they look the same. Like, their eyes, their mouth. Like,
I don't go into the details like that. I don't really go into the details like that, but I just was surprised because, first off, Corey was just one person that we saw in Room for Improvement, and we never saw him again. And then he comes into this episode and apparently he's Mr. Nakamura's son. And I'm like, I didn't know about that. So he lives with Mr. Nakamura? Now we need to see an episode of those two together.
Yeah, honestly, like when you look at them like back to back, like let's say you're watching Room for Improvement and an episode with Mr. Nakamura back to back. Like if you look closely, you can see, okay, somehow these two look similar. They could be related to one another. I don't know.
I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but it was odd. But the other thing too is that I also get to see the Changs. I can see Adelaide and Sid, and also the mom and dad. I thought was pretty cool. And the other thing you also get to see, what was it? The other neighbors also come in as well. I forgot their names, but I know Miranda was also a part of that group as well. So to say the least, I mean, a little reference back to those who miss out on the neighbors. It was good to actually have them referred in this episode, but for them to ruin Ronnie An's plans for a perfect Christmas Eve, it makes sense why Ronnie Ann kind of got pissed off. So yeah, but the other thing too about this episode is that Ronnie Ann at least fixed everyone's problems so that they can go back to their Las Posadas night.
Yeah, I will give her this. Like she did fix their problems, but the thing is though is that it was for the wrong reasons. Like it was more so for her own selfish needs rather than helping the needs of others. However, another thing to give credit to Ronnie Ann is that at the end she does feel bad about like pretty much tricking them in a way after the neighbors and her family helped save Ronnie Ann, Bobby, and Arturo from getting stuck in High and By. So she makes it up to them by inviting her neighbors along with them. Like I felt that was really sweet, and like honestly, it felt like very harmonic in a way. And I feel that like Ronnie Ann I feel Ronnie Ann genuinely learned about togetherness and selflessness during Christmas. It was just really nice of her.
Yeah, I would say so too. So to say the least, I know that they try to fix the problems up with their neighbors and all. But the other thing too that I also noticed was that, of course, Arturo was not in the family while they're trying to continue their Las Posadas night. So Ronnie Ann and Bobby did go out to try and fix up the problem that was happening, where like they need to get their dad back. And I know he's stuck in High and By. But here comes an awesome little moment here where Ronnie Ann and Bobby work together. And you never see a brother-sister relationship like this ever in the show yet. How did you like this moment here?
I really liked that we finally got to see a scene with just Ronnie Ann and Bobby together. Like, not with their cousins, not with Sid, not even with their mother. Just Ronnie Ann and Bobby alone. Honestly, I want to see more of that. In fact, I want to see an entire episode in which Ronnie Ann and Bobby walk together, like just solve a problem. Like it's honestly about time that we get to see real quality sibling time between the two. I feel that that's what the Casagrandes sort of lacks. Like we get to see an episode centered around Ronnie Ann and Sid. We even get to see an episode centered around Ronnie Ann and Maria before we got to see an episode centered around just Ronnie Ann and Bobby. Like back in the Loud House, go back to the Loud House. We see quality time scenes and quality episodes, which mainly features Lincoln and one of his sisters. Like you've seen Lincoln and Lana episodes. You've seen Lincoln and Lori episodes. You've seen Lincoln and Luna episodes. So like you get to see the real quality. You get to see the real quality time that is spent between two siblings. I feel that's what the Casagrandes should have as well. Just an episode with Ronnie Ann and Bobby. Just like have them be some kind of like duo episode, because I feel that a Ronnie Ann and Bobby episode is way overdue.
I think so too. I would love to see a sibling bond between both Ronnie Ann and Bobby. And it looks so great from that only like 5 minutes of those two working together, having a snowball fight with Becky and their brother, which I thought was pretty cool. And of course, just the fact that Bobby and Ronnie Ann were working together to at least get their dad back. And I like the fact they called Par and said like, hey, how are you doing? I need you to give me the code to get into high and buy. But I thought, like I said, they worked together. Like Ronnie Ann tried to make a call, Bobby doing karate to at least get rid of all the snowballs that has been going on with them. It was such a great chemistry between the two of them, and I wish they could have more episodes of Ronnie and Bobby. Maybe more coming up. Actually, we do know there's another one coming up. It's one of the new episodes on Amazon, which we'll not review. Which we will not review, by the way.
Not going to give away.
Yeah, there's a new episode that came out that actually does show a Bobby and Ronnie Ann episode. That is on Amazon Prime, so please watch it and spend $2 to watch it if you can.
It's worth it. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
And also,
right, so,
another thing I like to say is that I feel that Ronnie Ann and Bobby should have switched places. I feel that Ronnie Ann should have Snowball fought Becky and her brother, and Bobby should have been the one to call Par. Can you imagine like how much more sense it would have made? Like Ronnie Ann,
that makes sense.
Yeah, Ronnie Ann is usually the one. Ronnie Ann is usually the one that would actually like start a fight or a snowball fight compared to Bobby. And Bobby and Par are BFFs. So honestly, it would have made more sense if he was the one to call Par instead of Ronnie Ann. But that's honestly how I would have done the episode.
I mean, that would be cool, like Bobby calling Par to say, hey, I need your code to get into high and buy. And then, of course, you see Ronnie Ann and Becky, you see in the two of clubs. So you see those two fight a bit. It makes sense for them to, have a snowball fight, and, with Becky. I think that would have been a better option. But you know what? Switch the roles aside, it still works out.
I agree.
Yeah, I must say so. So throughout their hardships, they were able to find their father, only for them to be trapped in snow by a snowplow, which kind of sucks because they just wanted to get their father and get the heck out of there. Now with the family worried, they had to search for them, and they're not alone. All of the neighbors also came along to help them out of the predicament. And these are the neighbors that Ronnie Ann and the cousins also helped out with. So this turned out to be a really heartwarming episode here. Heartwarming moment here in this episode. What did you think about this part?
Oh, I agree. It was very heartwarming. And not only that, but it also showed the true spirit of Christmas and the joy of giving. As it turns out, it's not just giving presents that emphasizes, the giving part on Christmas, but it's also doing huge favors for people and pretty much helping them out of a jam and saving their lives. So that is another way that could be interpreted as giving on Christmas in a way, you know what I mean? So yeah. I really do respect that it adds another layer to what Christmas is about.
I think the fact that the neighbors all came back to help them, I thought that was just absolutely heartwarming because Ronnie Ann helped them with their Christmas problems. So why not return the favor and have all the neighbors come in to help them? So we get to see everybody pretty much help out Ronnie Ann and the father, and even Rosa with her chancla going through the snow, which I thought was amazing. I didn't expect that. I'm like, okay, a chancla is really an amazing tool now.
Yes.
But I know that the Casagrandes are just gonna stick with that little joke there. The chancla is a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
By the way, this chancla is a very powerful tool.
Yes. Hey Nate, Rosa has her own final smash. It's the chancla. That chancla, it could do some damage. Trust me.
Can it beat Sephiroth?
Yes. It can even beat Sephiroth, like in a snap. Like honestly, even if Sephiroth was 0%, one hit of the chancla, boom, he's out.
I think the chancla is a very powerful, like I said, a very powerful tool, and apparently can carve through snow and was able to free the family. Now, blessed to see everyone help Ronnie Ann and her family out of her predicament. She returned the favor and brought them along caroling for Las Posadas. So this turned out to be a montage where we hear Bobby sing a carol and, get everybody pretty much walking around the neighborhood, meeting up with people. And FYI, met up with everybody. Like, oh, I would get to see Mr. Hong from that one episode where Bobby worked with Mr. Hong. We get to see that one guy from Going Overboard, which I thought we will never see him again. We get to see Nikki, Samir, and was it? Oh, the other guy. Shit.
Casey.
There you go.
Samir, Casey.
Nikki, Samir, and Casey in Casey's dad's food truck. So there's just a huge moment where we get to see everybody again. And I thought that was like, okay, so we're reflecting on everybody back. So at least for the Casagrandes, all of the characters that have been shown in the Casagrandes have made a significant role in this episode. And I thought that was absolutely great. I don't know about you, Amin. How'd you feel about this moment?
Oh, I honestly just seeing like everyone celebrate, like just seeing everyone at Great Lake City celebrating them. Oh my God, like it was just so beautiful. Like it was so touching. Like honestly, it makes me wish that that they would make another Loud House. Oh, excuse me, sorry. It honestly makes me wish that the Loud House would release another Christmas episode in which, in the end, like everyone of Royal Woods, including the friends of the siblings, including Pop Pop, including Myrtle, including Scoots, including Mr. Grouse, Flip, everyone. It sort of makes me wish that like everyone of Royal Woods would celebrate in the same fashion the way everyone at Great Lake City celebrated in this episode.
I thought that, yeah, that would be a pretty cool idea. But then again, you already have 11 Louds of Leaping. And that was a really good episode. So
Well, that's true, but it was just the Louds, the McBrides, and Mr. Grouse. So it's like a smaller celebration.
I would say if they were going to do something like this for like if they ever have a celebration where they all go out caroling, I would love to see everybody like Liam, Zach, Rusty, and Stella all grouping together and singing carols.
I know you like Stella, like you know you were
yes,
like
I
Stella
do. I admit it. I do. But the other thing too is you also get to see what. Oh, okay. What's with the mistletoe, huh? maybe if they ever. Are you making me like do a drawing now of Stella and Lincoln, you know, under a mistletoe?
I'm totally not giving you any ideas at all.
Oh, right. Oh, now you got to give me something. I mean, that would be pretty cool. I just love that whole montage. Just everybody, the whole family, plus the neighbors, just all caroling all out together. And the song that Bobby sings is also really nice too, and it was absolutely great. I don't think anybody knows how great Carlos Pena Vega is, but of course, you know him from Big Time Rush, and he contributes his voice to the show. And the way that he sings this song makes it like a Christmas classic. And I really hope like there will be more songs where Bobby sings more. So yeah,
Bobby gets his musical genes from his grandpa, his abuelo, in a sense. Like,
yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine these two and Luna being some sort of like, you know, a 3-person band, like just a 3-person guitar band? Like that'd be pretty cool.
Well, that'd be pretty awesome. I would like to see that. Maybe in one episode for the Casagrandes. So hopefully they freaking hear us, you know? Come on, Miguel Puga. You can hear us. You know our show. I think you know our show. All right. So last moment here, though. Everybody came back to the Casagrande household to have a very Merry Christmas with all the neighbors making it a fun Christmas party. Well, they were in for a surprise. And even so, just when the episode closes, a certain family did come to the Casagrandes, aka the Louds. So they came to the party, and even though they showed up for only a minute, it was pretty amazing to see them. How did you like this part? And did you want to see more after the Louds appeared?
Okay. While it is nice to see the Louds finally appear in this episode. At the same time, though, I was like, dang it! Showing them in the last minute, the last 10 seconds of the episode. Now you're showing them. Like, oh my God. The previews teased us big time. I can't be the only one who feels cheated by this episode. Like I love this episode, but it totally cheated me, I swear. Like seriously, what was the point of showing the Louds in the previews if you're not going to use them until the very end? I mean, really, what was up with that? We thought this was going to be another huge crossover between the two families. Like really, this is nothing short of a cock tease. I'm not kidding. This is a huge cock tease for me. We were hoping that in the episode, like we could have them for at the very least, 10 minutes. But they couldn't even do that. seriously, like, okay, I want to be happy about this. I want to be happy that Lincoln Loud says a line. Like, I know most people are very excited that Lincoln Loud, says a line, like the very last line of the episode. But honestly, I can't help but feel a bit robbed. Like, I don't know. Maybe if they didn't show the Louds in the previews, in the sneak peeks, and just showed them in the episode itself, it would have been a nice surprise. Like, honestly, I would have forgiven it for, how they handled the Louds in this episode. I could forgive it if they didn't show them already in the previews. Like, honestly, like, it was just, I don't know what to say. Like, I was sort of let down. Like, honestly, I was sort of let. I love this episode, except like I do not like how they handled the Louds like one bit.
To say the least, Nickelodeon fucked up on this one. I mean, dude, you put a big tease. Look, through that trailer at the end of Cursed, we were all excited to see the Louds visit the Casagrandes. Great. But when we saw the episode of Very Casagrandes Christmas, you left them in the last part of the episode where they're just saying their car got broken down. Can we stay to celebrate Christmas with you guys? So, to say the least, it should have been an hour episode so we can actually get to see the Louds and the Casagrandes meet up and actually have a Christmas celebration. There could have been more chemistry in this episode, but no, Nickelodeon started to tease on this, and I was like, why did you actually? I don't know. I think, to be honest, it was a dick move. I really wished Nickelodeon didn't show that part so that we could be surprised when we watch the episode. Like, the last minute, there's a knock on the door, and it's the Louds, and we're all gonna be like, "Oh my god, it's the Louds! Oh my shit!" Ah! We'll be all excited, but we already know that we're gonna be excited for the Louds coming into the episode because they put a preview out. So Nickelodeon kind of screwed up their preview part here because of that, and I was. The marketing team's not doing well with that, and I'm like, okay, yes, we're going to be so excited to see the Louds in the Very Casagrandes Christmas special, but can you at least put them in for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes like you did in Cursed? Could you just done that instead of just have them appear for only 30 seconds?
Like, honestly, it would. Let's see. Okay, it would have been like if Croaked released a preview in which it contained Carl when he arrives, accidentally arrives at the Loud House. Like, imagine that. Just imagine, like, going back a year earlier, and then we see a preview of Croaked, and then we see that Carl entered the Loud House, and then we're thinking, like, oh my god, is Carl? It's. Do you think that Carl is just gonna enter the Loud House itself and meet the family? Like, honestly, imagine that. Like, honestly, like I. This is one thing I loved about Croaked. At least with Croaked, it managed to actually like make it like some sort of like surprise Easter egg at the very end. Like, I'm just like, if Croaked could do it well, if Croaked could keep it hidden, why couldn't this episode do it? Right? It's not that hard.
Like I said, you gotta blame the marketing team for putting a preview where we actually get to see the Louds. So that, like I said, they really screwed up on that. They should have just not have that scene. And then we would come into the episode, and then when we see the last seconds, we'll be all surprised that the Louds are going to be in it. And I know that they try to do the same thing too by making us watch the Very Casagrandes Christmas and just waiting for that moment. I think, were you feeling the same way too, where you're like, where's the Louds? Where's the Louds? Where's the Louds? And then, oh crap, you just notice like it's 5 minutes till the show ends. And like, oh, okay, now I know the Louds are not coming. FYI, shout out to Sunny, because I think Sunny predicted this, that this is a 1 minute write-off or 1 minute thing that they're gonna show. So I mean, if you watch back on our episode for our Curse review, I think Sunny did predict this right, that they will only appear for a minute. So Sunny was right if she was here in this show.
Yes, I remember. Sunny did predict that this would happen, and she was unfortunately correct. Honestly,
you're all hyping up, saying like, "Oh my god, what are they gonna do?" Like have a Ronnie and Lincoln Sidani moment, that kind of stuff. And it never happened because the Louds didn't come in until like 30 seconds later. We were all hyping up for things like that, and then of course it never happened because they only showed up for 30 seconds. I'm like, oh great, this isn't gonna help. Our hype really honestly did shut down because of that.
Honestly, like, excuse me, sorry. Okay, now a part of me was very you know, part of me was invested in this episode. Of course, it was a good episode, heartwarming episode. We want to see the Casagrandes celebrate. Blah blah blah. Another part of me though, was anticipating for the Louds to show up in the Casagrandes house. And every time we heard the doorbell ring or we heard a knock on the door, I was thinking, please let it be the Louds, please let it be the Louds, please let it be the Louds. And then it ends up being the neighbors. And one of the neighbors, I was like, damn it, come on.
They're hyping us up for nothing. I was like,
I was like, okay, I don't care about you. I don't care about you, Edward. Show me the Louds, please. I don't care about
hey. You should care about Sid though. Sid was there. Her Christmas was ruined.
Okay, Sid is an exception because, well, she is Sid and she's awesome. But I'm talking about the rest of the neighbors, the non-Changs.
Like Mr. Nakamura and his son. I mean, that was a surprise. So, I mean, I was proud to see those two actually come in. But then the rest of the neighbors, yeah, it makes sense why they shouldn't be in here. Oh my god! But yeah, we're all excited for the Louds to come in and to be disappointed with just a 30-second appearance. And yes, it could be because their car broke down, but at the same time, it was like, really, you just left us hanging for 30. I mean, granted, the episode was amazing. I love the Casagrandes celebrating Christmas, but I think most of us, like half of us, were probably also thinking, where are the Louds at? Right?
Exactly. Yes, myself included. Come on.
All right, so that's it. That's all we can talk about this review. Do you want to bring up anything else in this episode?
Oh my god, yes. Despite the ending, this was a heartwarming Christmas episode that managed to have the heart, the humor, and true Christmas spirit, particularly when they have Las Posadas featured into the episode. It may not be as strong as 11 Louds a Leap In, well, because of what I just mentioned, but in terms of the LoudCasa Christmas episodes, I have to say I'm going to rank this as the second best of the bunch. This is a 9 out of 10 for me, and it is definitely the best of the 3 episodes that we're going to talk about tonight.
All right. I have to say, like I said, a very heartwarming episode. I never heard about this Las Posadas celebration that the Casagrandes have celebrated. I know it's a Mexican culture thing, so it made me learn a lot more about Mexican culture, but there's so much that was shown in this episode. We never seen Mr. Nakamura as a son with Corey. I didn't expect to see everybody in the Casagrandes appear in this episode. And the fact that, Ronnie Ann tries to help the neighbors and the neighbors helped Ronnie Ann out. It just felt like this is a very good Christmas episode all around for Great Lake City. Mm-hmm. I have to say, it was amazing for a Christmas classic, and I hope this is going to be a good Christmas classic coming up. So what's your rating on this episode?
My rating on this episode, like I said, it's a 9 out of 10. There are a few issues I had, with Ronnie Ann's selfishness and the cock tease, which was putting on the Louds with just, 5 seconds, nothing more. But other than that, though, it managed to stand very strong for me.
Yeah, for me, I would have to give this also a 9 out of 10. I just felt like, besides the whole cock tease of the Louds not being there, if you could just get that aside, the Casagrandes actually did have a great episode for Christmas and, very heartwarming all around. This is probably going to be a Christmas classic now. So, no doubt about it, I would say the Casagrandes did a great job with this Christmas special. All right, let's move on to our next episode, another Christmas episode from the Loud House that also premiered right after a very Casagrandes Christmas called Season's Cheatings. So let's head over to our synopsis here. A Lincoln tries to rig the family swap and ended up learning a valuable lesson. So let's talk about coming into this episode first, because it looks to be like another episode where Lincoln may be in a bad situation like previous episodes. What were your first thoughts coming into this episode after hearing the synopsis?
Okay. Now, when I first heard about the synopsis about this episode, I'm going to be very honest, like brutally honest. I was not looking forward to it that much. And the reason being is that it looks to be the type that's going to follow the typical Lincoln Loud formula. And I already expressed in a previous episode that I have grown very tiresome of the Lincoln Loud formula. I understand he is a kid, and at that age, kids do learn different things. But the thing is that most of the episodes that follow this plot formula, they don't really do much to make them unique or stand out, therefore making them stale and very predictable as a result. And I thought that this episode was going to follow suit, but thankfully, though, this episode managed to prove me wrong, and it managed to be much better than I expected.
My thing is that I didn't want this episode to follow the old previous season 1 episodes for Lincoln Loud. You know, there's some. I mean, the thing is that this is an episode where Lincoln learns. He's still a kid. He's like what, 12 years old, so he's still going to be learning to grow into an adult, to be a mature person, to be a trustworthy person. But you know, there's still that selfishness that kids have. I mean, yes, he is growing, but for Lincoln, he's still going to learn a lot of stuff. And to be honest, we have never seen a Lincoln episode like this before. And the fact that there's brand new writers working on this episode, I was just hoping that the writers can pick up from the mistakes from the old previous Lincoln Loud episodes and actually make it like wholesome. And to be honest, when we saw this episode, it actually was wholesome. So let's actually head straight to the episode right now. So we get the point. Lincoln rigs the family swap. This all works out on his plan he discussed before. FYI, a little tease on a Sweet Spot, because he actually uses bed and actually does some, planning there. It turned out to backfire, since Lily was going to make his present now, not have his parent, like before when Lily's a baby, the parents buy the gift. But that didn't turn out to be the case anymore, because Lily now is an older preschooler and can be able to make her own gifts. Explain your thoughts during this part of the episode.
Yeah, I just want to mention that now that you mentioned Sweet Spot, that's actually an oldie but a goodie. But going back to this, now, first, I want to point out a small congratulations to Lily for finally getting the chance to give one of her siblings a gift herself instead of her parents doing it for her. Like, honestly, excuse me, sorry. It's a chance for Lily to grow even more and do things herself. I mean, we have already seen her learn to finger paint by herself for one thing. And now we go even further, where she put some thought into what her siblings would like. Like, oh my God, the more I look at this, the more I think, oh my God, like these kids are growing up so fast.
I can't. I mean, like, I kind of felt that Lincoln had a great plan, but of course, when it came to Lily growing up, I love the fact that they're continuing to make Lily grow up, where she will make her own presents instead of having her parents continue on and buy the presents for the person that Lily picked. It's just a growing factor that I thought was amazing. But of course, it did ruin the plan for Lincoln. Hence, the whole Sweet Spot thing happening all over again, where Lincoln continues to negotiate and think about what's going to be happening around the bed. So,
and then he goes again, to Vanzilla, and then he screams like, oh!
Yeah, he screams at the Vanzilla. See, look, Sweet Spot references. Sweet Spot. I thought that was amazing. And
it's Christmas Sweet Spot. Christmas Sweet Spot.
Shout outs to the writers, because the fact is that they brought an old episode that everyone loved in season 1 and referenced this in this episode. Yeah, Lincoln screaming, Lincoln doing a plan like, I'm sorry you had to see that. FYI, that also what he said in a Sweet Spot. Plus, he also, like I said, he also did plan a lot of stuff in his bed to make sure that he gets that backpack. So it was amazing how they actually referenced back to season 1, and I was proud for the writers to actually know about this. All right, so let's move on ahead. The man with the plan has to do things to get a different Loud sister now instead of Lily, which means sneaking into rooms, swapping cards, and even dressing up as a Loud sister and convincing them to switch cards, aka another reference to Cover Girls from season 1. How'd you feel about this
oldie
part?
But goodie. Another oldie but goodie. I really love Cover Girls, by the way. It's one of my favorite episodes of the series.
Oh, yeah. I love that too.
And definitely one of my favorite season 1 episodes, like hands down. But so again, going back to this.
How'd you feel about the man with a plan now pretty much doing everything he could to get that backpack?
Now, what I loved about this episode is that it is a total callback to the Lincoln Loud season 1 episodes and possibly half of season 2. Like him breaking the fourth wall, him talking to the audience, him forming a chart, like a big chart, with the pitchers filled with his sisters, and like pretty much using his big mattress as a chart, like going back to Sweet Spot, he did that too, as well as sneaking into his sister's rooms to complete his missions, disguising himself as Lincoln's sisters and mom, and calling himself Man with the Plan. Like, oh my god, it totally felt like I was watching a season 1 episode. Like, honestly, this would feel like a type of episode that honestly would have been released as some sort of pilot episode. This is a type of episode that would have been released had the Loud House first premiered in Christmas.
Yeah. I was actually pretty surprised about all the callbacks from season 1 and the fact that Cover Girls actually called back. I did not expect Lincoln to actually have a full. Now, I like the fact that it's not a chest anymore. It's pretty much a file cabinet of all the sisters' costumes. So it's like he can dress up as Rita, she can dress up as Dad, he can even dress up as Lynn Jr. and even dress up as Lori, which he did in this episode. He actually dressed up as Lori in one part. He also dressed up as Rita also, and apparently it was very convincing from the sisters that it worked out. So I thought that was okay. So I thought it was great. The fact that Lincoln has plans like this, and again, I'll call back to season 1 of Cover Girls. So they have not left that formula out. He actually still is doing all of this. He's still doing all of this dressing up and trying to convince his sisters like to trade cards and things like that. So the man with the plan is currently running with his plan and it's working. I thought this was amazing. Just the fact that Lincoln is, I like the fact that Lincoln is just continuing to be an awesome guy with these plans, and the fact that we're going back to season 1 Lincoln where he does all these man with a plan stuff.
Oh yeah. Like, nice to have a man with a plan back, right?
Much, but I mean, like, I understand we have not seen a lot of Lincoln Lad episodes recently, just like what we've seen in Seasons Cheatings. But to say the least, I mean, it's just much really felt good to see Lincoln back and actually have a main focus here, which is, you know, sometimes you have to get away from the sisters and actually go back to the main guy, Lincoln. So eventually he would have Luna give him his gift, which worked out. There was just one problem. He forgot to give the Loud sister that he pulled a gift. So knowing it's Lola, he quickly rushed to find a gift, only to be closed out of stores. Unfortunately, he had to meet up with a person that we all hate, Chandler. But he did come to the rescue. Explain your thoughts in this process.
Chandler. Chandler, why won't you go away? Oh God. Like, honestly, just go away, Chandler. Just go. Like go disappear in the woods. Anyway, now so on a side note, Chandler spent spying on Lincoln? Really? I mean, talk about stalker, am I right? Honestly, if I were Lincoln, I would have just called the police. I'm just saying. Okay. While I was not looking forward to seeing Chandler, like, I do like Lincoln's side of the situation, which we're going to touch upon right now, and why I felt that it really worked in enhancing the message of not just the episode, but just like enhancing the Christmas spirit of the episode of the story as well.
Yeah, I mean, I hate Chandler myself, but to be honest, Chandler did come to the rescue in this episode. If you looked further into what Chandler did, help provide a gift for Lola, but had to sacrifice his gift. I mean, I understand that it's Chandler that is a douche, and he, makes this kind of like deal to make Lincoln, suffer for his misdeeds. But this is something that I thought was necessary. But yeah, let's continue on with this because Lincoln would give up his backpack for Lola's gift that Chandler gave. And what made this episode was that Lily still gave a gift to Lincoln, which was so heartwarming. So what was your thoughts on this? And did you think Lincoln deserved this?
Okay, now this is where the whole episode feels like a different kind of Lincoln Loud episode, and that's what makes it great. That's what makes it stand out. I'll tell you why. Rather than going the typical Lincoln Loud formulaic route with the family discovering his plans, getting mad at him, and then at the result of him getting mad at them getting mad at him, he plans to make things right at the very end. They all live happily ever after, blah, blah, blah. This takes a more natural and genuine approach with Lincoln's genuine change of heart. Lincoln Loud discovers himself that Lola Loud was supposed to be who he has to give the present to, but because he was so focused on his own selfish desires to get the ripped hardcore backpack, he realizes himself without any forced conflict or contrivance that he has to give a gift as well. So he tries to go to the mall, but it's too late. The mall closes. So he tries to give Lola something from Burpin Burger, but unfortunately that doesn't work out either. So here comes Chandler to make a deal with him. So what Lincoln does is that he makes the ultimate sacrifice. He makes the ultimate Christmas sacrifice and trades the Rip Hardcore backpack for Lola's earrings. And it turns out that in the end, that even though Lincoln did not get what he wanted in the end, he ended up giving at the end, making his sister happy, and for his act of goodwill, he himself, in a way, gets rewarded for that. And in the end, with Lily finger painting, creating, and giving Lincoln a portrait of Lincoln and Lily, which Lincoln himself almost cries at and hugs Lily. Oh my God, it was just beautiful. The last 5 minutes, it's just beautiful. Not just because it's a loud family moment, but it also enhances what Christmas is really all about. Christmas is about the joy of giving, not getting. Lincoln learns this naturally and on his own, and I am proud of him for that. This is what I want Lincoln Loud episodes to be like. Have Lincoln learn lessons, but do so in more natural and creative ways. Get out of the cliched formula and have Lincoln learn lessons in the right and correct ways, like he did here. I never had a problem with Lincoln learning lessons at all, nor did I ever had a problem with him not being perfect because, you know, nobody's perfect, and especially not kids, of course. And of course, Lincoln Loud is an 11-year-old kid still learning lessons from society and growing as a person as a result. But it's the execution of the episodes in which he learns the lessons himself that really makes a difference. And I feel that Caesar's greetings makes a difference.
I know you pretty much explained everything from the from the spot there. But yeah, to pick up from what Mead said, this is an absolutely heartwarming moment for Lincoln because you can totally see that this is pretty much like the first half of the episode was pretty much him being selfish trying to get the backpack, and then when the story twists where he had to, you know, get a gift for Lola, but he was way too late. Of course, he had to go desperately and actually go with Chandler's plan. And like I said, I have to say this. I mean, you always say we all hate Chandler, but to say the least, he did help rescue Lincoln in not giving Lola a gift, which would make her cry, for example. You don't want to be like the bad brother to, to give no gift to a sister like Lola. So he had to do it. He can't do anything about it. And I love how Chandler was just right there just to help him out in this situation. So like props out to Chandler. I know y'all hate him, but I props out to him. But
yeah, honestly, this is one instance where Chandler actually works in the story, whereas most of the episodes that he's in, like he's just a plot device, just to make things worse for the characters for no reason. Here, though, however, at least Chandler serves a purpose to the story. So, of course, we don't like Chandler at all, but at least this time around, there's a reason, there's a purpose for Chandler being in this episode.
yeah. And the fact that, the huge sacrifice that Lincoln had to do, where he had to give that famous gift that he wanted so much with that ripped hardcore backpack, he had to give it away to sacrifice that to make sure Lola has a really good gift. So to say the least, Lincoln may have not had a gift throughout for that whole celebration of the gift swap thing, but at least Lily came into the end to at least give Lincoln give Lincoln a good drawing, and I thought that was absolutely heartwarming. I'm like, yeah, Lincoln, you may not have a gift overall in that party, but Lily came by to at least give you a gift that she hand painted, and I thought that was cute. So, I mean, Lily has a chance for her to be an artist, and holy crap, she's making things a little bit tear felt. Oh
I
man,
agree. Like, my God, the ending like was perfection.
oh yeah.
Perfection. Like one of the most heartwarming endings I've ever seen.
And,
Like,
and
and
look,
it really
Lincoln.
tells you something. It tells you something. Lily has a bright future ahead of her. Like, I can imagine her being an actual artist, like a painter, like an artist in the future. I could see that happen.
And to say the least, like this helps make us realize Lincoln's like little issues here. I understand Lincoln might be a little bit selfish, but this time around, he's learning to not be
Mm.
selfish and to sacrifice stuff for him to get a better result, which happened in this episode. So I thought that was absolutely great that they put these last 5 minutes and make it work. And I thought this really did put a charm in this episode that we thought when we first came into this episode, we thought it was going to be bad, but holy crap, we didn't expect it to have such a good ending at the end. All right. So besides that, what else do you want to bring up in this episode?
Nothing that I really, nothing I would really, nothing much more I want to say except I really hope that we get more Leaking Loud episodes like this, and I hope that the writers take inspiration from this episode and do like handle Lincoln like you. There are so many ways that you can handle Lincoln. There are so many ways that you can handle this type of plot, and I feel that Caesar's cheatings is sort of like the poster child of potentially great Lincoln Loud episodes going forward.
Oh yeah, I'd say so too. And this could be like a starting point for all the Lincoln episodes that might be coming up in season 5. Maybe we'll have another one just like this, and hopefully this could be a learning lesson for Lincoln. So what is your overall rating on this episode?
Oh, this is definitely a 9 out of 10 also. Like, it was such a pleasant surprise for me. Like, when I was watching the previews, when I was reading the synopsis of what it's all about, I was expecting to dislike it, but then I ended up loving it. It's honestly one of the best season 5 episodes for me. Sure, there is a bit of Chandler that I did not like, that I didn't care for at all, especially when we found out that he already has a rip hardcore backpack of his own. So what's the point of having two, right? I mean, I guess like the whole point of him having a second rip hardcore backpack is just to make Lincoln's life miserable or something like that. It's typical Chandler behavior. But even then, like I said, it works in the story. It serves a purpose. So I can't even be like too mad about that because of the reasons I just stated. Like, I love the callbacks to the early Loud House episodes. I love Lincoln's Man with the Plan strategizing. I love Lincoln's creative and wacky ways in which he tries to complete his mission of getting the backpack. I love Lily also. I feel this is one of Lily's best appearances. Like this is it's one of those scenes where it's possibly Lily at her best, especially towards the ending.
All right. I have to say I give this an 8.5 out of 10. I really appreciate the fact that this Lincoln episode is way better than any Lincoln episode out there. I mean, there's not really much to say about this. It's just that Lincoln is learning a lesson. I just love the whole ending of it all. Why I gave it an 8.5 was that I think the whole fact that the whole setup is weird. I mean, the way things are, like with the all callbacks and stuff, I think the callbacks were really necessary because it just tells you leading into this episode, this is going to be a reference to a Lincoln episode. This references to a Lincoln episode back in season 1, which, some of us love and some of us hate. But to say the least, this is one I actually do appreciate because this is an episode that I thought was really heartwarming and really down to the point, really a good Christmas episode for those who don't know what Christmas is all about. So, yeah, I mean, so much amazing stuff, like so much heartwarming things. I have to say, I didn't expect this from this episode because coming in, I thought it was going to be another bad Lincoln episode. But to say the least, this is something where Lincoln gets to learn something, and no doubt about it, this really did change my mind on how this episode goes. So I hopefully we get to see more Lincoln episodes just like this. And like I said, 8.5 out of 10. No doubt about it. Really good episode. All right, so let's move on to the next episode that also appeared right after season's cheatings. It's a Christmas Carol, but it's a little Loud House mix. It's called A Flipmas Carol. Synopsis here says, a Scrooge-like Flip is visited by three ghosts in a special take on A Christmas Carol. Well, a little straightforward there. So first off, it's another Christmas Carol remake, this time with the Louds and Scrooge being Flip. So when you heard about this episode, how are you feeling coming into this episode?
Well, no, I am not the biggest fan of Flip.
This is not a surprise. This is not a surprise because you keep on ranting on Flip a lot, especially Blind by Science.
Yes, especially the worst episode of the entire series, which I will not talk about again because
oh dear,
I talk about this episode. I might just okay, cool. I honestly was expecting this to be one of the weaker takes on the Christmas Carol story, even if it's Loud House, because well, it's Flip. However, just like how Season's Greetings managed to exceed my expectations and prove me wrong, Flipmas Carol also found a way to make it stand on its own.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I look into this episode, it makes sense why Flip would be the Scrooge in this episode. You may think it's Mr. Grouse. I know we explained about this before, but Flip makes sense for him to become that Scrooge for this Christmas Carol remake. I mean, like, coming into this, I feel like this is going to be a good retelling. And the fact that they have, like, these 4 ghosts instead of 3, like Clinton McCloud being that second ghost, I thought was pretty cool, having those 2 pair up. But, yeah, I mean, this was going to be a pretty interesting little take on how they're going to handle Christmas Carol. So let's get straight to it and talk about the Christmas Carol episode of Flipmas Carol. Now, the beginning makes sense on how this Christmas Carol retelling is going to be. Flip being evil, making scams to people, including the Louds, the Cheryl Merrill twins, Mr. Grouse, and the McBrides. How did you like this whole setup for this episode so far?
You know, it managed to surprise me because of how it takes place in modern times. And also, it had its own unique spin on the classic tale. And they managed to make the ghost characters a whole lot of fun. I just loved the ghost characters. And the reason why they managed to make the ghosts the best parts of Flipmas Carol, we're going to touch upon right now.
Yeah, and in my take, I like I said, Flip makes sense for him to be the Scrooge in this case. Because look, he's doing a lot of Scrooge-like things where he starts scamming people, starts being bad, being evil, that kind of stuff. So it makes sense how this setup is like, oh yeah, he's just scamming more people. That's pretty much him. So that's how it all begins for Flip and how this Christmas Carol was going to start off for the story. So after that, after the whole sales that Flip had, the ghosts will appear. First off was Lisa being the ghost of Christmas past, where we get to see a young Flip. If you all remember correctly, young Flip did appear during Recipe for Disaster, and how he became a scam artist. How did you like this sequence? And who would have thought Scoots was the one who influenced Flip?
Yeah, it was a really interesting take on how Flip became the Flip that we all absolutely do not love at all. But we do get to see why he became the way he did. And we never would have guessed that Scoots is the one that plays a major role in making him the way that he is. Like, honestly, Scoots created a monster. Scoots, oh my God, like, we blame you now. Like, we have someone to blame for this. Like, trust me. Like, honestly, we're holding you accountable, Scoots. I'm sorry. I know you're voiced by Grey Griffin. I know that you've had many awesome moments, but still, we cannot let this go. Hashtag blame Scoots. All right, I'll make it a thing. Hashtag blame Scoots.
Oh my goodness. But so we get to see a younger Flip, which you already saw from, like I said, Recipe for Disaster. But the other thing too is that, yeah, Flip had a thing going on where he would have went to a Christmas dance with this possible wife. And apparently he didn't have a ticket, and we get to see Scoots, which I didn't ever expect it. It's surprising where Scoots is still in a scooter, even though she's just a young girl. Apparently, she's
Yeah.
still in her scooter. I didn't know about this. And
How
yeah,
is she still on the scooter? Like even at that young
I
age,
don't
how is
know,
she able?
some sort of disorder. but but the thing is, like, yeah, I didn't expect this from Scoots. I know Scoots is also like kind of a meanie, but we still have a little light heart with Scoots. But I didn't expect her to become the scam artist that made Flip become a bigger scam artist. I don't understand. I'm like, oh, I thought Scoots was cool and all. Oh, I didn't know you were going to make Flip become a scam artist himself. They kind of made me think about Scoots a little bit more, you know.
What a twist, right? What a
Right,
twist.
right. And although it makes sense why Flip kind of got sad and became angry and became a scam artist, you gotta blame Scoots on that one. But we get to see a young Flip. We get to see him try to have a date with this one girl that he liked, and apparently didn't work out because he couldn't go into the dance. So no matter what happened during that past segment, it's just feels that Flip really missed out on an opportunity, and after that, he started to become Flip that you know right now. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, that whole sequence I thought was interesting. Scoots being the main person, why Flip is being evil. Who would have known? Who would have known? Who would have known? All right. Anyways,
Yeah.
let's go to the Ghosts of Christmas Present, where Lincoln and Clyde show up and showed Flip his misdeeds. What had his misdeeds have brought to the families that got scammed of him. Of course, everything was pretty much broken, which left a heavy feeling in Flip's heart. Explain what were you thinking when you saw this part?
Yeah. Okay. First, I want to point out that it was really cool to see Lincoln and Clyde as the ghosts of Christmas Present, and just Lincoln and Clyde being, well, Lincoln and Clyde. That was pretty cool. But when we see their family and how like poorly they got poorly they got treated by Flip, and how screwed over they got by Flip, to the dinner, to Lynn having to work at Christmas, just like the whole family not having a good Christmas at all, and then you get the sense that Flip is feeling legitimate guilt, which is something you don't quite often see in a character like Flip. It was nice to see how he's finally reflecting on his actions and he's feeling legitimate guilt over this. Um, but unfortunately, let's be honest, we all know that this change of heart is not going to last um, because Flip, like, just when we think that he's changing for the better, boom, he goes back to being his old self. And yeah, let's be honest, folks, it is not good character writing at all. But I
But,
really digress.
but this one moment where Flip actually has a heart, I thought that was like pretty interesting. How Clyde and Lincoln showed him all the misdeeds that he did, and he started to feel all bad. It kind of makes me feel like he's getting some character here. Well, I know it's a Christmas Carol retelling, but I'm just saying it just makes you feel a little sad for Flip in this case.
I mean, just a little bit, but honestly, not by much, because, like I said, we all know that it's the change of heart is not going to be permanent. It's going to be temporary until the plots of the upcoming episodes. The plot wants Flip to be his old self and not, and pretty much revert back to what he was,
Right.
as if Flip Miss Carol never
But
happened.
just this one episode, though. I mean, I have to say, you gotta feel sorry for him. I mean, he had to deal with all this. It makes you feel like you have a little heart for Flip in this episode.
See, this is why I feel that we should have gone with a different character
Really?
to portray the Scrooge-like character, because at least then, like, this change of heart would have been much more believable and it would have been more permanent.
So you would really love it to have it with Mr. Scrooge, but I would imagine Scrooge. I mean, not Mr. Scrooge. Mr. Grouse. So I mean, like you're always parroting with Mr. Grouse being the Scrooge, but to say the least, he's still being Scrooge, like even throughout like the Loud House.
True, and another thing too is that Flip isn't grouchy. He's not old or crotchety or grumpy, whereas Mr. Grouse is all those things. So that's why I felt that that could have worked.
I just feel like Flip was the real Scrooge because yeah, he does a lot of evil misdeeds, and if you see the Christmas Carol, you understand why Mr. Scrooge had to be haunted by three ghosts. He's just being an evil person, work on Christmas. Come on, man. That's what Lynn is doing in this episode. By the way, I totally forgot. Lynn in a elf outfit was absolutely cute for Lynn. Never expect to see
really
that from her.
Like I see all these like DeviantArt
Yes, everybody's drawing. Everyone is drawing. What is it? Elf Lynn, and I'm like, that's absolutely adorable. You never expect. You always see a sporty, tougher Lynn, but you never see Lynn like this cute outfit.
Newsflash: I may or may not work on that soon. Who knows?
Okay. I'm giving you drawing ideas now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I technically already did a LoudCasa Christmas themed fan art recently, which if you go on my Twitter or DeviantArt page, you're definitely going to see it. And let me tell you, you're going to be fascinated by what I did. I feel that it's honestly my best work to date. But honestly, Elf Lynn is another thing that really does come to mind for me when I think LoudCasa and when I think Christmas.
Yeah. All right. So the Christmas past, pretty much we all explained it there. But we have to go to the last ghost, the Ghost of Christmas Future, where Lucy Loud would show Flip the results of his misdeeds, including the closure of Flip's and his untimely death. FYI, this is also what happens in Christmas Carol. Kind of the same thing we would see in A Christmas Carol, right?
Yep. And honestly, the person that they got to do a Ghost of Christmas Future is exactly who you would expect. Let's just put it that way.
To say the least, I mean, Lucy makes sense because he obviously is dark and evil, and to say the least, she would make a really good Grim Reaper. You've seen her do it, especially in Tricked.
Yes.
Like a really good Grim Reaper.
like Lucy is definitely like the Grimm of Nickelodeon. We already have a Grimm on Cartoon Network where we're like, I'm the Grim Reaper, man. Like, just the difference is that Lucy is not going to have that Jamaican voice.
At least, I thought they would actually do something more when it comes to the Ghost of Christmas Future, where they would actually show future Louds, older Louds to say. But to say the least, this is what happens like the day after Christmas. So, okay, so Flip is dead. Okay, probably a proud moment for every Flip hater here.
Oh, hard.
Yeah, for you in this case.
Let's dance on the grave. Let's dance on the grave.
Oh my god. Oh dear. We're not doing that.
Ding dong, the Flip is dead. Ding dong, the Flip is dead.
Like I said, this is something from a Christmas Carol where, the person who is the Scrooge did die and also had a misdeed of, something happened to what happened to the result of that. I know that there should be a Tiny Tim in this episode. I'm pretty happy they didn't do that because you don't want a Tiny Tim die in this episode.
Yeah, and the Loud House, I know very well it tries to avoid the subject of death. The closest thing it got to it was Jerry Antics, and that was only hinted at. It wasn't really established or presented as much. It was just hinted at a possible death for Pop Pop.
All right. Yeah, that's right. That's true. All right. Anyways, after the visit with the ghost, you get to see Flip change his heart, and he starts to fix all the problems that everybody had, like give Cheryl and Meryl a tree, inflate all the inflatables that the McBrides bought, fix the lights that Mr. Grouse bought, and also give the Louds like the best Christmas they could have. How did you like this moment here? Did this make you like Flip even more?
Well, like, it was a sweet moment. I'm not gonna lie. It was actually a sweet moment, a sweet Christmas Carol moment. And of course, this is an adaptation. Excuse me. This is an adaptation of a Christmas Carol story, so of course you're gonna expect this to have this type of ending. However, like, I honestly, it would have made me happy. Like, it would have made me genuinely happy for Flip had it been, like I said, had we have known, like, had we have believed, had we have trusted that Flip is going to change for the better in the upcoming episodes. But like I said earlier, we all know that he's going to revert back to the old Flip, the old greedy Flip that just makes things worse for everyone else just because the plot tells Flip to.
Yeah, I understand that, but to say the least, this moment here at least gives you a little bit of heart of what Flip is. I mean, it kind of sucks that at the end he starts to bring back that Flippy that he put in the bag, and it's like, oh yeah, you're going back to your regular Flip. Okay, you're not gonna give Lincoln that Flippy. Fuck you.
Yeah,
um,
honestly, when I saw that like he pretty much was sneaking the Flippy into the bag, I was like, "Yep, he's not going to change. Like he's not going to
yeah,
really change anytime soon,
I
is he?
just felt like
Like this is
that
only going
moment.
to be temporary. This is only going to be temporary."
I just felt like that moment where he started to become nice and actually give gifts to the Louds was great, and all the things that he did with the Louds, with all the cheap stuff, being a scam artist to them, just makes me feel much better for Flip that he did this in return. And the whole point of a Christmas Carol is to change a person's heart, and I think they totally showed it. Even though it was 15 minutes long, they did show it pretty well in this episode. Yeah.
I
All right.
agree.
So let's say yeah. What else do you want to bring up in this episode?
I have to say that like when it comes to a Christmas Carol adaptations, like I said, I feel that this is still like one of the weaker takes on the Christmas Carol story. Oh, not because of the reasons I mentioned, not because it's Flip, but because I've seen the Christmas Carol story done like much better. Like Muppet Christmas Carol is one of my absolute favorite Christmas movies. I just adore the movie. Michael Caine really nails it as Ebenezer Scrooge himself. I also really love Mickey Mouse's Christmas Carol that has Scrooge McDuck as Ebenezer Scrooge. I really love that. It was a short, sweet one, and there are some others I feel pull this off much better. But Christmas Carol on its own stands as a decently written one.
I would say not bad on how the Loud House writers was able to make this um, Christmas Carol remake and flip it around to have the Louds involved. And I thought, Flip being Scrooge, I thought he was perfect to be Scrooge. And all the people that got that got victimized by Flip's misdeeds makes sense for them to be victimized. One thing I do want to point out, we get to see Cheryl and Meryl together because you always see them, become like, what is it, those advisors or something over at school, but you never see them together as sisters. So to say the least, we'll at least get confirmation that they are sisters. So yeah, awesome Cheryl Meryl time for those two. And I
You sort of
believe the
forget which one has the mole and which one doesn't.
I don't. I actually do not know
I
that.
don't remember either. Yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
So
glad
we
I'm
have
not the
to,
only one.
look back on that episode now. But I mean, you could probably notice too. Like the one of them has a darker hair, one of them has lighter hair. The lighter hair is Cheryl, the darker hair is Meryl. But then you also do get to hear the voices too. I think Meryl's voice is deeper versus Cheryl's. I don't know. I mean, you're gonna be confused with the twins, but to say the least, I love to see I just love the interaction with those two. At least they're working as sisters. Yeah.
Yeah,
Our,
I feel we should have more episodes of these two just together.
I know. Maybe like a middle school, elementary school collaboration or something. All
True.
right. So, what's your rating on this episode?
I would say it's a 7.5 out of 10. Like, it's
Okay.
definitely not the strongest Loud Casa episode, Christmas episodes. No, 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 no. It's far from it. But it was at least it was a good Christmas episode on its own. I do like its unique take on the Christmas Carol story. Um, but the thing is that, like I said, it's Flip. We don't care much about him. Like even after all that, even after he got scammed by Scoots, and even after his possible death, because for all the reasons I just mentioned before. But what makes it stand out, honestly, is the ghosts. Like I said, the ghosts are what really makes this episode just a whole lot of fun for me because of how colorful and creative, just in character that they are. Like honestly, Lisa, Lincoln, and Clyde and Lucy as ghosts, like they all manage to just be themselves as ghosts, and it is so fun to just it's so flippant fun to just watch them like haunt Flip and in their own way. Just like honestly,
Right.
if it wasn't for the ghosts, if it wasn't for how they handled the ghosts in this episode, I probably would have just lowered it down to a 7.
I'd have to say though, I mean, it was a pretty good take on the Christmas Carol. Just having Flip become the Scrooge in this case, looking at his past and the present and the future, and the fact that the Loud siblings are the ghosts actually do work out. No matter, I mean, it's a good Christmas story nonetheless of how Christmas Carol is, and even if there was a little twist with how Christmas Carol is, I have to say it was pretty good to say the least. All right. Anyways, yeah, I have to say like 7 out of 10 on that one. Yeah. All right. Hold on for a second here. All right. I'll hold on for a second to get something. So be right back, everybody.
We'll be right back after these messages.
You can put your cam off. What now, Mom? Still doing a thing. Still doing a thing now, Mom. Still doing a thing. Okay. Glad we're back. Omid, you're back on? All right, perfect. Sorry.
And now back to the show.
All right. So without further ado, let's head over to our main subject, which is the effectiveness of crossover. So our main subject tonight is the idea of a crossover. The idea is pretty simple: an episode or a special where characters from one show appear in another episode. And there have been quite a lot of those crossovers out there. From its early beginnings on Nickelodeon with Rugrats Go Wild, to crossovers nowadays, most recently, our latest LoudCasa and Casagrandes episodes. So, how do you like the idea of having a crossover episode?
Okay, now having a crossover episode can go either way. Like, there have been some hits, there have been some misses. You have to be really, really careful in how you write a crossover episode. It can turn out to be well made, but there are certain factors that do need to be kept in mind when making crossover episodes. Number one, both works in question must have a reason in order for the two to mesh together. Like, let's say they have the same creator, or they take place in the same cinematic universe, or at the very least, come up with another logical reason as to why the two shows, movies, or fictional universes should come together for a crossover. Like, say, maybe they have the same tone, maybe they have the same style of humor, maybe they have the same studio. I don't know. Like, honestly, there has to be a reason for it, not just because. Don't make a crossover just because you want to do it, just for the sake of doing it. You have to have a reason behind it, which leads me to number two. And this is another reason why some crossovers don't work. Number two, a crossover cannot just exist for the sake of cashing in on the products that you are featuring. This is where some crossovers fail, because they're made just because a studio or producer wants to make money off of popular franchises, and they do not end up working well, like, at all.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of that around there. I mean, if you look back at like some that come to mind, like Family Guy and The Simpsons having a crossover episode. I thought that was more of a cash cow because it's just two popular franchise adult cartoons merging together to, have a crossover episode, which was interesting. And we're going to explain more about that later in this episode. But you're right. I mean, the second part you were talking about being a cash cow, that's mostly why crossovers are all about. Like it's just weird because like you can have two franchises mixed together into one episode and it might work, it might not work. It all depends on like how you reflect on what a crossover is all about. I mean, for example, when we look at the Loud House and the Casagrandes, they do work out, and will explain more about this right now because um, Loud House and Casagrandes do make a lot of crossover moments, mostly as the Louds visit the Casagrandes and vice versa. Now, they technically were not. Now, let's talk about the first couple episodes for the Louds and the Casagrandes because we get to see them, in Loud House episodes. Like, for example, the Loudest Thanksgiving that you're currently looking at right now. There's also episodes like where the Casagrandes would actually come up into one episode, like the spies who frightened me or something like that. I forgot.
Spies Who Love Me.
Spies Who Love Me. There you go. Yeah. Me. There's also Misconnection where Bobby comes into Royal Woods to have a date with Lori. Even City Slickers, where the Louds go to the Casagrandes to have Lori visit colleges or to be a city girl for Lori. To say the least, these are pre-made before the Casagrandes became a show. To me, they're not crossovers, but what about you?
Well, that would actually depend on when they take place, honestly. I would say that the pre-Casagrandes episodes are not typically crossover episodes because when you really do think about it, they take place before Casagrandes even aired or even announced further. So it's not really a crossover episode because it was never really kept in mind that the Casagrandes needed to have a show, or it hasn't even aired yet, so it hasn't been considered canon yet, technically. However, with the post-Casagrandes episodes, the ones that do take place during the time when the Casagrandes is airing on Nickelodeon, they are what I consider to be crossovers, in my opinion. What it means is that all the episodes with some or all the Louds and Casagrandes together, such as Spies Who Love Me and City Slickers, like I said, they take place before Casagrandes was even aired or announced, so I would classify those as not crossover episodes. However, it's different with Flea Market and Horoscope because you have Loud House characters in the Casagrandes series. Not Loud House series, but the Casagrandes series. So that, and of course, the Loud House already existed way before Casagrandes. So yes, I would classify those as crossover episodes, no doubt.
All right. So
and also same goes with the Loud House episodes as well. Like Don't You Forget About Me, which I still stand as the best season 4 episode ever made. That is a crossover episode because Ronnie Ann and Carlos both appeared in the Loud House, and it was during a time when the Casagrandes was, of course, airing on television. So that it was during a time when Casagrandes still exists. So yes, that is a crossover episode.
Okay, so let's actually go and break through on the Loud House and the Casagrandes with their crossover episodes right now. And there are a couple of good ones that we will love to talk about. Just a heads up, we're not reviewing them. We're just going to be talking about how effective this crossover was. So first off, it's Flea Market. This is where Lori came into the Casagrandes and, had a date. Actually, to be honest, it was actually more Bobby supposed to go to the Loud House and give Lori a date, but instead it was vice versa, and Bobby needed to work with the market more than Lori's date. So, I mean, I like how this is effective-wise because it's more of the focus of the Bobby and Lori relationship. And I understand Bobby's little problem, plus again, focusing more on Lori and Bobby, and the fact that Lori is also going to the Casagrandes. I thought that was amazing. But to say the least, even if Lori still made it to the Casagrandes, this is more of a story here where you get to see more of the impact of how the relationship between Lori and Bobby are. So with this episode, Flea Market, where they had this crossover of Loud House and Casagrandes come in, I felt like that was really effective, especially with the growth of this relationship with Bobby and Lori. How about you, Omid?
I think so too. Like Lori, what I really loved about Flea Market was that Lori was not just there just for the sake of it. She actually had a very important role to play in the episode, therefore making her very well integrated into this Casagrandes episode, because she herself says that, You don't need to worry about your business. It's not going to be messed up just because you left your sister and cousins in charge. You can still enjoy the date while leaving your mercado in the hands of your sister and your cousins. So I really do like that Lori teaches this lesson that Bobby really needed to learn. So what? So huge props to the Casagrandes writers for pretty much, like I said, having Lori play a very significant role and having her, like Lori herself, teach this lesson to her boyfriend.
Right, that's which I think is just really helpful for their relationship. All right, so let's move on to another Loud House Casagrande crossover episode where Lake Kid visits Ronnie Ann, aka oops, the horoscope. Oh, this is gonna be a fun one. All right, so you already know this
Yeah.
episode. Okay, quote unquote, Lake Kid pretty much visits the Casagrandes because her mom needed to do something in Great Lake City. And this pretty much brought up a loud of Lincoln Loud and Ronnie Ann having a moment where, you know, Ronnie Ann was thinking that Lincoln was Lincoln was liking her and all of this stuff, but it turned out to be a magic trick. I just like, if you want to explain how this crossover worked, it worked. Because I think most of us were really into seeing how the relationship between Ronnie and Lincoln is. Because most of us are thinking that Ronnie and Lincoln are actually a couple, or actually are going to be a couple. And the fact that this episode kind of focuses on that, and the fact that this is like a huge roller coaster ride, was like emotions, emotions everywhere.
Yeah, honestly, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like waiting for like what was going to happen. Like,
I mean,
honestly, what I love about this episode is that like each scenario, like each twist and turn that they pull off, like you expect one thing to happen, but then something else happens. I just love the way the horoscope really pulls it off.
You know, I've been noticing a trend here. When the Louds visit the Casagrandes, it always turns out to be good. I mean, this episode, I think, is one of the best episodes of the Casagrandes because the fact that it's just an emotional roller coaster ride where it's like, oh, snap, is Lincoln really going to do this? Is Lincoln going to propose? Oh my God, is Lincoln on a date with Ronnie Ann?
Oh, man.
I mean, what else do you want to say about this episode of this crossover episode?
Well, one thing I gotta say is that this is George Lopez's first role in the Casagrandes as Ernesto. So props up to George Lopez for, you know, pulling off Ernesto as always, of course. And like I said, what makes Horoscope work is that, like I said, it pretty much like I said, it subverts your expectations in a way. Like you expect one thing to happen, but then something different happens. Like, and it happens multiple times, and I just love the episode for that because it makes you think like where the horoscope episode is going to turn. It makes you think where it's going to go, and you think it's going to go one way and not the other. I just love horoscope for doing that. And like I said, going back to how Lori played an important role in the flea market, I really admire this episode as well for how it really handled Lincoln. Like, just like with Lori, they didn't put Lincoln in just for the sake of putting Lincoln in, just because, oh, he's the main protagonist of the Loud House. So let's just put him in for 5 seconds for fan service. No. They didn't do that. They actually had Lincoln Loud play an important role in the story, as well as Lori did in Flea Market. Like, there's actually a purpose as to why Lincoln Loud is in Horoscope because of Ernesto's prediction of his love prediction, and Lincoln Loud, just the way he plays, he sort of like unintentionally toys with Ronnie Ann in a way. It's sort of like playing with her emotions. Even going down on his knees, and then like we all thought that Lincoln was going to propose to Ronnie Ann. Let's be fair. Like Ronnie Ann fans were hyping up this happened, but it turns out he was just showing her magic trick. I was like, oh, dang it, Lincoln. Why you do this to us, man? Why you do this to us? I know you didn't mean it, but why you do this to us?
Anyway, you know what's gonna be a tool. like that. It was gonna be a twist like that, and I was like, okay, yeah, I understand why they did that, but like the whole ride where you had to just say, okay, Lincoln was about to propose, right? I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna say he's gonna be his boyfriend or girlfriend, and of course it just turned out to be a magic trick. I'm like, yeah, coincidental, whatever. But just the fact that whole episode where we have a feeling that Lincoln likes Ronnie Ann or Ronnie Ann likes Lincoln, and just the fact that Ronnie Ann is just, yeah, I just hope it doesn't work out like that.
I'm like, oh!
I know. It was just great. It was just amazing. I don't know what to say. It just was the funnest episode I've had. But yeah.
Yeah, I really loved it too, man. I really loved it too. It was just a lot of fun to watch, mainly because of how unpredictable it was. It was a lot of fun, and like I said before, I really love how Lincoln and Lori both enhanced the writing of the respective episodes. Like they just made the writing even better.
Yeah, I just felt it was just amazing. I mean, yeah, Lincoln had a purpose in this episode, and it was just to see if Ronnie Ann is convinced that he's in love with Lincoln. It's a possibility. I mean, you got to see more.
We all know that. We all know that, but this just further emphasized that this further cements Ronnie Ann's crush on Lincoln. This further cements that.
All right, let's move on. We're gonna be talking a lot about horoscope again. Oh, please.
Yeah, trust me, we are.
Let's move on to another crossover episode. This time the Casagrandes moved to the Loud House for one episode. This episode is "Don't You Forget About Me." Now, interesting. The story is mostly focused on Lori going to college and Lenny trying to deal with loss, but Ronnie Ann just visiting Lincoln in this episode. So, I mean, for this little reason here, I just feel like not necessarily it was kind of a filler, but I think it really pleases both Ronnie and Lincoln fans there, just that they're good friends. But is that really necessary to have like Ronnie Ann be in this episode? Because this is just mostly focused on Lori, not Ronnie and Lincoln.
Well, yes, I do agree that some could argue that Ronnie Ann's appearance was unnecessary to the episode. However, while I do get where they're coming from, I get what you're coming from. But the thing is, it honestly didn't bother me that much. And the reason is that because Ronnie Ann's appearance was used in small doses, and same with Carlos. So it never felt distracted from the main plot. See, that's what made Don't You Forget About Me work, is that they use the Casagrandes appearances in small doses, because the episode itself knows that the Casagrandes do not need to pretty much take up much of the episode's time if the Casagrandes are not going to play a part in the story. Like, honestly, like even the episode itself knows, like, it keeps its focus on what is really important, and that is Lenny's dilemma of her older sister moving to college, and Lenny trying to come to terms with that, trying to cope with that, but making it impossible for her to let go.
Yeah, so that was really much the focus there. But I just feel like, yeah, it's filler to have Ronnie and Lincoln pretty much be there just having fun in college. But to say the least, it was more pleasing for us Ronnie fans to be like, okay, those two are having fun. It's great. Only for like 3 minutes in the episode, but at least the main focus of the episode is still there, where Lenny's still dealing with loss. So, yeah, a little bit of an appearance there. This is kind of a situation where, like, it's not necessary to have Ronnie Ann be a part of that episode, but it still works out in the end. All right, now, one more episode that we actually did review in the last episode, Cursed. That was also a crossover episode where the whole entire Loud family, actually, no, it's actually the other way around, where the whole entire Casagrande family moved into the Loud House in a Casagrandes episode. This is confusing now. Okay. Anyways, this episode, on the other hand, was just interesting, just to have the whole family work together and have all the Casagrandes pretty much live in a house where they all are pretty much stuffed in the Loud House, for example.
Oh dear Lord.
The way they get introduced in this episode was fine, where the Casagrandes, needed a place to stay, and of course they accepted that. And we also get to see the problems that happen when you have a lot of people in the house, like the bathroom situation. Where to stay was also a big issue as well, and of course, just a lot of mayhem that happens with the Casagrandes With just a big family coming into the house. How did you like the Casagrandes or the Loud House cameo in the Casagrandes?
Well, it was nice to see the Casagrandes and the Louds in the same house together. And I will admit, like I said, I really enjoyed this episode for what it really was. Like Ernesto, of course, really nails it, just like he did with Horoscope. Um, it was nice to see the Casagrandes and Louds all cramped together into one. Um, and I really enjoyed the interactions between the families, but I felt it could have been just a bit stronger because um, I was expecting Juan Loud and Juan Casagrande interaction to like be much more of a thing. Like we got Lola and Carl interacting with each other. I thought we could have had more personal interactions between each Loud and each Casagrande. For example, we could have gotten Lenny and Carlota talking to each other. We could have had Maria and Rita, Lynn Senior and Rosa, like so on and so forth. Another thing that kind of bothered me too was like I know we discussed this in the previous episode, but like the Loud's hospitality isn't it wasn't that warm at all, honestly. Like they could have been more hospitable towards the Casagrandes.
I
Like
mean,
having them sleep in the coffin.
I want to stop you there, but they're all in one room. They could have at least, split them up. And we talked about this a long time ago in our last episode.
Why? Why have them sleep in a crammed coffin? It makes no sense. Why not just have them at least come down to the basement?
They weren't hospitable, and I think they just missed up a lot of opportunities there. Like, this is a good opportunity to have the Louds and Casagrandes meet up and actually, hang out and all. But you kind of wasted it. Just the fact that it's just more of a mayhem for the Casagrandes to live in a Loud house.
I was like, Lori, have Bobby sleep in your bed for God's sake.
I know, right?
He's your boyfriend for God's sake. Lincoln, have Roddy sleep in your bed for God's sake. He's your potential girlfriend.
Oh, I know, right? Oh,
another thing too. Another thing too. I want to point out. Oh my God, I love the scene. Like, call me biased, but one of the best scenes ever. When they're all like waiting at the bathroom door, and Luna Loud is like gently like knocking on bathroom door. Oh my God. Call back to Knocking on Heaven's Door with Guns N' Roses. Oh my God. I was just like
a little reference there. Nice.
Yes, I was just like, Luna Loud, I love you. I love you.
Okay, at least here's the thing about this episode, though. At least everybody had a line. I know people were complaining about the Loudest Thanksgiving not having a line, but like I said, everybody kind of got involved in this episode. It's just didn't feel right. I felt like they need to have more focus on the Louds if you're going to have them in the crossover episode like this. I know it's more focused on the Casagrandes, but there should have been a bigger role for the Louds in this one too, instead of them just being hospitable, helping the Casagrandes with their curse.
Something which we could have gotten with a certain episode we just talked about, which I love to be wrong, with a certain ending that
oh my God,
I will not get over it. I will not get over it.
Oh God. Okay, so let me talk to you about that episode. So would you consider a very Casagrandes Christmas a crossover episode because the Louds just only appeared for like a minute?
No. It is not a crossover episode. I do not classify Casagrandes Christmas as a crossover episode at all.
Really? I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
I do not consider Casagrandes Christmas a crossover episode, and I never will. 5 seconds at the end does not count. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it was just a little appearance, but then again, like you've had moments where Lori would pop up with Bobby's call, so that's not even technically a crossover episode either. It's just more like Lori just being over there. So yeah.
That's not a crossover. That's just a small.
It's not a crossover. It's just a guest appearance. It's just a guest appearance. It's not like a crossover episode where, like, Curse, for example, they had like so many people come in. But yeah, that was pretty much all the crossover episodes for the Loud House and the Casagrandes. But to say the least, from our talks about these crossover episodes, it seems like we really enjoy having these two families together, even if they're now in their own separate shows. But this is because they technically exist in the same universe with each other. While other crossovers just bring the two shows together, the Louds and the Casagrandes already exist within each other, and that shows a huge effect for the fans. Do you agree with this?
I actually do. I honestly really do. I feel that they really integrate very well together. Not just because they take place in the same universe but because both of these shows have very similar size family sizes, similar themes, similar heartwarming moments, similar heartwarming episodes, and just like similar everything. Like honestly, and like I said, the crossover episodes that we just talked about, the two, like I said, they work very well because of the characters from one show appearing in another show. Like I said, they don't do it just for the sake of getting views or ratings or whatever. No, they actually do it to serve a purpose to the stories of these episodes. Well, for the most part, and like I said, I really do applaud the writers for how they really handle these characters. They handle these characters very well.
I think they did a really good job, just having both Loud House writers and Casagrandes writers work together to actually have a good crossover episode, and all of them have worked out. Like with Cursed having the Louds come in and have them be hospitable, and the fact that the Casagrandes, like I said before, the Casagrandes do better with their crossover episodes compared to the Loud House. I mean, just the one little appearance from Ronnie Ann in "Don't You Forget About Me" was just there for filler compared to how Lori and Lincoln were doing in, for example, Flea Market and Horoscope. And to say the least, with this whole kind of possibilities, there's possible chance that there's going to be more crossover episodes with the Loud House and the Casagrandes. It just feels like they can make it work together. I mean, they both live in the same universe. Why not have more crossover episodes? And it looks to be working. Like they really do have really good crossover episodes.
Yeah, and honestly, another thing too I like to point out is that I think we're forgetting about another Loud House crossover episode, Jeers for Fears, in which
Oh,
gets
right.
Bobby gets a bit of share of a screen time as well. While not as strong as Lori's appearance in Flea Market or Lincoln's
But
appearance in Horoscope, Bobby did help Lincoln and Clyde
is
try to get over the fears in the haunted mansion.
that a crossover episode? Because I did that before the Casagrandes aired.
No, Jeers for Fears was some. Jeers for Fears was, I sort of forget, like, was it before the Casagrandes
I
series?
don't I
Okay,
don't
okay, scratch
remember.
that. Scratch that.
I know we talked about Misconnection and City Slickers and other episodes, but the thing is that they were not aired before the Casagrandes first episode appeared. So that doesn't
It
technically
might.
mean that the
I
crossovers. I don't think so.
I
I
think
thought it was a
you know
season
what.
3 episode.
You know what? I'm gonna stand corrected because I remember Jeers for Fears airing sometime before the Casagrandes
Yeah,
show.
I was
So
thinking
it was my mistake.
it was a
My
season 3
mistake. I believe
episode.
it.
Yeah. All right, it's a season 3
Yeah.
episode. That's what I thought.
So scratch that. Jeers for Fears. That's going over into the non-crossover
Yeah.
pile.
Yeah, but to say the least, do you like how the start of the crossover episodes are right now with the Louds and the Casagrandes?
Yes, I do very much. If they keep the episodes this strong, then yes, I do. I just wish that the Loud House crossover episodes would kind of pick itself up and sort of like try to get to the same quality that the Casa Grande crossover episodes has, which is
Yeah,
actually it's sort of rare to see that a spin-off series has some elements that surpasses its parent series. It's very rare that you see it.
yeah. All right, so besides that, we know that the Louds and the Casagrandes do have great crossover episodes, but this is a topic about crossovers. So let's actually talk about some notable crossovers that we have seen, and we kind of wonder if it really worked or not. So the first thing I want to bring up, Omid, you were a fan of the Rugrats and also the Wild
Yes,
Thornberrys. There was a movie
yes.
that also did come out called, oops, oh god, that's so small. Sorry. There was a movie that came out called Rugrats Go Wild. It was a crossover between the Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys. kind of a weird situation, and I understand why they did this. It's because Classic Supo both made these shows, and I guess what they did is have the creators work together and actually make a movie out of this, not a special or anything like that. I mean, you watched this movie. How did you feel about this?
When I was a kid, of course, I was a kid back then, so of course, I enjoyed all things Nickelodeon, no matter what. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, but when I look back on it nowadays, I feel that like it's just I felt it was kind of unnecessary, honestly. Like since they is they're both Klasky Supo projects, um, like that one aspect should have really made the movie fulfill its potential. Like just the fact that it's by the same company, like that should that should be a turn out to be a good project, but it kind of it kind of fell flat. And the reason why is because like there's a contrived reason why the Rugrats even meet with the Thornberries in the first place. I feel that the plot the story is all over the place. It's really all over the place. I'm not lying. Like you got Stu trying to prove himself to the adults. You got Donnie and Chucky swapping clothes.
Mm.
You got Spike trying to find the babies, who's voiced by Bruce Willis for I don't know what reason.
What was that? I remember it was Bruce
I
Willis.
don't. It was so random. I have no idea. Like,
Oh man. And then I think Angelica was
I,
with Debbie, if I remember
yeah,
correctly. I don't.
and
Yeah.
Angelica was with Debbie. Like I understand what they were going with. I understand what they're trying to do with the movie, trying to make it as wild as possible. But the thing is that it was way too out there, and it's way too all over the place. And as a result, um, the jokes are not very funny, and they can end up being very, very juvenile. The story is not very well written, therefore making the movie feel unnecessary, and having the big Nickelodeon crossover just for the sake of it, and like I said, also the fact that it just like I said, it's wasted potential. Like I feel that like with a same company, Classic Studios, you could actually there was some potential to create a stronger film, but like I said, for the reasons that I mentioned earlier, it ended up just kind of wasting it, in my opinion. I feel they should have focused more on like Tommy idolizing Nigel Thornberry because, in
Mm.
a sense, Tommy is Nigel Thornberry like in baby form because they're both adventurers. They like to like seek thrill. So I honestly felt that they should have focused much more on Tommy idolizing Nigel Thornberry. And the way I would have written it was like have Tommy idolize Nigel Thornberry, and then Stu kind of becomes jealous of Nigel
Mm.
because he's trying to be the father to Tommy, and he
Uh-huh.
fears that Nigel Thornberry is in a way becoming the father figure to Tommy that Stu is trying to
Uh-huh.
be. That he's and so like
Okay.
why couldn't we focus on that instead?
Yeah.
We got like all the other silly juvenile plot elements, all the silly stupid jokes, and it's meshed
Okay.
together. It's kind of a mess.
Okay. To say the least, did you when you were a kid you watched this and were you excited about watching this movie when you were a kid?
I really was, but then again, I was a kid, so like I
Yeah.
said,
So it's like kind of irrelevant. It's just more like, oh, awesome! Rugrats and Wild Thornberries are meeting up for the first time, and that was like my thinking coming into this movie. But to say the least, this is more kind of a marketing ploy. Do you think it was like a marketing thing where it's just like, okay, well, let's just have our two best classy Supo animation cartoons work together in one episode? Because it just felt weird. Because it's like you have you have a family that pretty much goes around the world, doing nature documentaries, and then you have a suburban town of kids just interacting and stuff. I don't know how you want to mix those two together. It just felt like it felt weird, like having those two together.
Yeah, it was like honestly, I can think of no other reason other than the fact that it was made for marketing purposes, like you just pointed out.
Yeah,
Because
I just
like you
thought
just
this was
point
a
out, like
point. This is a good point for marketing. It was just more like, yeah, you know, we did great with our Rugrats movie and our Wild Thorn Experience movie. Why not have them clash? It didn't work out like that.
honestly, and the reason why it was made in the first place, it doesn't really add up when you really think about the fact that um you're meshing together a adventure wildlife mock documentary sort of cartoon series. Well, not really mock documentary, but you got Nigel Thornberry doing small bits of the documentary part, mashed together with a silly, goofy cartoon that centers around babies. How does that work exactly?
Yeah,
Like, how's that?
exactly.
How you come to that?
I know exactly. So to say the least, like this crossover, what I believe is just is more of a marketing thing. And you know what? And the other thing too is like, yeah, you're supposed to make a good movie. If it's gonna be for marketing, you're supposed to make a good movie. And it just doesn't work out with having those two different storylines work together in just one movie. Yes, I get it. I guess it's just a Amazon Safari trip for the Rugrats, and they met up with the Wild Thorn Bears. I'm like, no, not gonna work that way. All right. So, but yeah, that was like what back in the 90s when we watched this movie. So let's head over to a couple of years later where we had another crossover from Nickelodeon, and it actually was a pretty notable one. It actually had like three specials, and it featured two really awesome characters and two very popular Nickelodeon franchises, the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, Jimmy Neutron from Jimmy Neutron and Timmy Turner from the Fairly Odd Parents. So these two are obviously different universes where, you know, the Fairly Odd, where it's just interesting where it's like, yeah, Jimmy Neutron is 3D, and then when Timmy went into Jimmy Neutron's world, he became 3D, and then vice versa, and everything like that. But then in the first special, it was only Jimmy and Timmy, and then in the second episode, everybody pretty much swapped. And in the third special, I think was pointless. Although I don't know how you thought about this. I know you watched this. How did you feel about the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour?
Well, first things first, I really liked the first one. I mean, sure, like it was silly, goofy, all that stuff. But then again, that's how both of these shows are at the end of the day. Um, I just really loved how Jimmy and Timmy both like they really worked in like the universes that they get trapped into. Like you got Timmy like rolling around Jimmy's lab,
Yeah,
um, trying to figure out how to beat HA with one of Jimmy's inventions, and then later on you got Timmy and Cindy like falling in love, quote unquote.
yeah,
It was just fun to see it, and you got Jimmy trying to disprove magic, like he's trying to say like I'm not Timmy, I'm Jimmy Neutron, and then like Mr. Crocker, of course, being Mr. Crocker tries to take over Fairyland and such like that. Like honestly, I feel that this really works because it still kept the humor that made both early Fairly Odd Parents, I said early Fairly Odd Parents, mind you, and Jimmy Neutron work as both their shows like respectively because of just like the humor that they both present and how witty and funny it really is, especially the dialogue.
yeah. I have to say, like, I understand this is more of another Nickelodeon thing to actually have two franchises work together, but I think they did work together really well in this. The fact that you know, The Fairly Odd Parents is a very popular show, Jimmy Neutron is also a very popular show, so it kind of feels like the same way like Rugrats Go Wild, where they actually put two franchises together and make it work. This one is two different franchises where Federator made what was it, Fairly Odd Parents, and DNA Productions made Jimmy Neutron. But the other thing too is that it's just the fact that both of them are really funny, and they use their like humor in each show to make it like a really fun special. So like, you know, Timmy goes into Jimmy Neutron's world and of course gets a crush with Cindy, which I didn't know, which was weird. And the other thing too is like, you know, they the I like the fact that everybody from Jimmy's world, Jimmy Neutron's world, pretty much said like, "Oh God, it's like a not a flat, small head Jimmy."
Well, sure.
Bald-headed Jimmy, yeah. And then they're also were thinking when Jimmy went over to the Fairly Odd Parents, it was like, yeah, he's 2D, two dimensional, and he has a big head and things like that. He's not Timmy, guys. But I mean, yeah, I just felt like no matter what, how they made the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, they made each, like I said, their humor from each show worked together and actually clashed in this, and actually worked in the end. Although what I have to say though, when it went to part 2 and part 3, I kind of felt like they milked it, because part 2 was okay, it was a fight for Cindy, and then part 3 was unnecessary because it just had those two work together. And I like the fact that it's like, oh, you're about to fight, and then like in the beginning they were all friends. What? They were like, it was a rivalry between the two cartoons in the first and second movie, and then the third one, it's like they're all being friendly and made a villain.
Exactly. It's interesting. That's where Jimmy Timmy Power Hour 3 really fell flat, because what made the first two Jimmy Timmy Power Hours so engaging is the rivalry between two different characters in two different worlds. One that is filled with fairy godparents like magic, and the other universe was filled with science. So it's a clash of magic versus science, which was what made Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, the first two movies, like the first two crossovers, really engaging. Not just the humor, but the clash between science and magic.
Yeah, I would say so too. But to say the least, I mean, I would, if I had kids, I would actually recommend having them watch this because it was actually really funny. How would you agree? It was actually a good investment with having Jimmy Neutron and the Fairly Odd Parents work together in this crossover.
Yeah, honestly, what I like to think of it as sort of a bizarro Rugrats Go Wild, in that when you look at Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, like a crossover between two different shows from two different Channel Federated versus the DNA Productions, like just at first glance, you see how it's going to fall flat. But then when you really do look at them, when you look at the first two Jimmy Timmy Power Hours, you actually see how it exceeds your expectations and how it was much better than it needed to be, that it had any right to be. And it's for the reasons that I mentioned: the clash between science and magic, the humor that kept early Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron so fresh. And when you look at Timmy in Jimmy Neutron's lab, it's very believable that Sheen and Carl do think of Timmy as just a small-headed Jimmy, because let's be honest, Jimmy Neutron himself has a lot of crazy inventions that can pretty much change in all shapes and forms. So it's actually pretty believable. It's not that far-fetched to see Sheen and Carl believe that that in their head Jimmy used one of his inventions to make his head smaller.
Yeah.
So I actually like how it really plays into the humor of both Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron. Same with Fairly Odd Parents, and how Jimmy Neutron is integrated into the Fairly Odd Parents universe, because you see how Jimmy Neutron is pretty much Timmy, except he doesn't have buck teeth and has a fudge swirl of brown hair.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say much about that. Yeah, that's good. At least we get to know more about that. Anyways, let's talk about another crossover that was notable to us. We were both fans of Simpsons, and we were also fans of Family Guy until until more seasons came out and it started to get
the
boring.
Early versions. Let's talk about we're fans of the early Simpsons and Family Guy. Me especially, I'm a huge fan of the early Simpsons, the first 10 seasons in particular.
Yeah, but what happened was that I think Fox knew that the ratings were going down, so they ended up doing a crossover episode of Simpsons and Family Guy. And a 1 hour special where the Family Guy, where the Griffins pretty much went to, Springfield, and pretty much had a fun time with Homer and his family. I know this was more of a marketing plot here with having the Family Guy having the Family Guy characters with the Simpsons characters here. Although to be honest, I know it's just a one episode fluke, and it could have been like a marketing ploy here. I just felt like this really was not. I mean, like maybe ideas wise, it was kind of fun to see them pretty much be together, but no, it just felt like the story wasn't great. It was like, okay, yeah, you were thinking that they were going to work together, but at the end they were not going to work together. And of course, they're rival adult cartoons. How was your feelings with this crossover?
Oh boy. Nick, okay. Do you remember when I said that a crossover cannot just exist for the sake of cashing in on the products that you are featuring?
Yeah,
Because it's where the crossovers fall flat, because all they care about is just making money off of popular franchises.
yeah,
This is the epitome of that. This really takes the cake when I was talking about that particular issue. Like it's the poster child of this particular issue. Like, I will admit, there was a bit of clever commentary, just a bit of clever commentary of when the Simpsons were sort of suspecting that Family Guy was plagiarizing off of the Simpsons, when Peter and Homer were drinking in Moe's Tavern, and Homer points out that Pawtucket Patriot is a rip off a Duff beer, to which Peter gets over defensive and says it may have been inspired by Duff and all that stuff. So Simpsons decides to sue them, which I'll admit was actually quite clever when you do really think about how Family Guy was controversial back then. And one of the main reasons being was that it was a ripoff of Simpsons, or a copy of The Simpsons. I'm sort of glad that they brought up this particular subject up, this particular commentary up. But however, that's only as clever as The Simpsons and Family Guy gets. It does not get better from there. Like, there's like dragged out jokes, there's stale humor, there's there's just there's an unnecessary long fight that isn't nearly as engaging or as creative as when Peter Griffin fights the chicken.
yeah.
As the comic book guy said himself, worst chicken fight ever. Like, oh god, I couldn't
That was
help
the
but
episode, right?
laugh. I couldn't help but laugh and agree, because that's what I was thinking too. I was sort of thinking too. Now, I might have enjoyed it when I first saw it, but it was before my tastes have developed. And like I said, like with Rugrats Go Wild, when I look back on it now, like, I see how cringe and how, I see how cringe and how juvenile the humor is here too.
Yeah, and to be honest, like when I was looking at this crossover back then, I thought it was pretty effective because I knew that Simpsons did appear in Family Guy sometimes, and same vice versa, where Family Guy actually appeared in a couple of Simpsons episodes. It wasn't until now where they had this 1 hour episode, which worked somehow. I mean, you had both main characters, Peter Griffin and Homer Simpson, working together. I remember that car wash scene that was absolutely lewd. That was,
Ugh,
well, I knew
don't
the
even
humor was
get me
supposed to be
started.
disgusting, and I was like, yeah, there's supposed to be like a dirty girl washing cars and things like that, and it was like, no, not gonna work with these two guys.
God, don't remind me of that scene, please. I need some brain bleach right now. Oh, so cringy. Oh,
I get that it gets cringy and all that kind of stuff, but this is kind of more like this is at the point where Simpsons and Family Guy were like, we need to bring our viewers back, but I felt like they really didn't do well. I mean, the shows are still both going strong somewhat. They're still having new seasons and new episodes, but I have to agree the humor of both did lack. It's not the same as the old Simpsons or the old Family Guy that I used to watch. But having a crossover episode like this is more like a desperate move to say we need to get our shows back and running again. And it may work when it first appeared, but if you're going to watch it again, you can totally see the flaws in this episode.
yeah. Honestly, I feel that the Simpsons and Family Guy crossover episode could have worked. I say could have worked had this been made in sometime in the 90s or the early 2000s, when both shows were at their prime. Like, because these two shows back then had witty humor, had creative characters, had had really good stories to follow. It's just like they were generally funny too. Like back then, both these shows they were genuinely funny back then. But because the crossover episode was made now, when the humor is very stale and the comedy is just so cringe, and of course, made during a time when both shows are oversaturated because Fox, for whatever reason, likes to oversaturate shows. Like it ends up being what I like to call being released like at the wrong time. I feel that this episode, like this crossover, could have been released at a much better time. It could have been released during a much better time when both shows had such a good reputation.
Right. I think it would be better.
And
I think it would be better if Fox did this like season 4 of Family Guy or season like 7 or 8. I don't know what season of Simpsons it was back then, but probably around that time may have been a good time for that crossover. Not like
one more thing I'd like to point out. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One thing I like to point out is that how is it the Family Guy and Simpsons even crossover in the first place? Look at the Simpsons. Their skins are yellow, whereas Family Guy, their skins are normally colored.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, this is more of a marketing ploy for Fox, and we'll just leave it at that for now. All right, so I do want to bring up another crossover series. Well, not really a crossover series, but this is a show that we both grew up with and had a crossover series with other. Okay, well, first off, Lilo and Stitch, right, Omid?
Yeah, of course. I love Lilo and Stitch. I think I pointed out somewhere in this podcast that I'm a huge Lilo and Stitch fan. Not just the movie, but the entire franchise as well. Its sequel movies and its series, its TV series.
So the TV series did come out, and it actually did pretty well. Had a couple seasons, but they also did have a crossover season. And it also did have crossover episodes. And what's kind of odd about this crossover episodes is that it crossed over with different Disney Channel shows. Let me show you what they are. So Lilo and Stitch hanging out with American Dragon. Lilo and Stitch hanging out with the Proud Family. Lilo and Stitch hanging out with Kim Possible. Lilo and Stitch hanging out with the Recess Crew. What is happening here?
I know, right? So many crossovers.
This one was like, okay, I guess Lilo and Stitch was saying, hey, do you guys want to come over and let's make an episode together? I just felt like it was more of a fun idea to have the American Dragon, Jake Long, to come over to Hawaii and help Lilo and Stitch with their situation, or to have Lilo and Stitch work with Kim Possible to defeat Dr. Draken, or to help with the Proud Family's vacation in Hawaii. And I don't know about the Reese's one. I didn't actually watch that one. What the heck were they doing in this one? I mean, did you watch these episodes first? I know I watched the Kim Possible one because I was a huge fan of KP. But did you watch these episodes and thought this worked?
I watched half of them. I watched just the Kim Possible one and the American Dragon Jake Long one. I haven't seen the other two.
Oh, okay. But but do you think it worked just to have those two cartoons merged together to make a crossover episode?
Well, I felt that the Lilo and Stitch crossover with Kim Possible worked much better than the one with American Dragon Jake Long.
Yeah, I felt that way too. Well, I don't even remember the episodes because I know that they did a crossover. It's just interesting how they did it.
Yeah, it sort of is. I felt that the Stitch and the Lilo and Stitch Kim Possible one was pretty good watch. The American Dragon Jake Long was it's pretty forgettable, pretty okay-ish, I guess. It's not really crossovers that are memorable per se. I wouldn't categorize them as the best or the worst.
It wasn't really memorable, but to say the least, this was like a childhood. Like having KP, having KP work with Lilo and Stitch, or the fact that Recess, that's a '90s cartoon, actually came to Lilo and Stitch. What? That was it. That was an interesting. That was an interesting one. Yeah, it was an interesting one. I'm like, wow, you actually brought the whole Recess crew and actually have them in a Lilo and Stitch episode. By the way, Recess was a '90s cartoon, and Lilo and Stitch was a 2005 cartoon. How did you actually get this to work? And it was an odd one. And FYI, this is kind of like a nostalgia factor here from all of us right now, because if you have not seen these, Lilo and Stitch is a really good series, and all these cartoons that are currently off Disney Channel and are currently on Disney Plus, you can watch those right now also, and they're also pretty good. So Disney Channel back in the 2000s and 90s were great.
Yes, Lilo and Stitch series, I would say, is one of my favorite Disney Channel shows as well. Like I like, and also Lilo and Stitch is one of my favorite Disney movies ever. So, like I said before, huge fan of the entire franchise, not just the movie.
Oh yeah, I would say so too. All right, so that pretty much sums up our crossovers. I do want to ask one last question for you, Omid. What future crossovers do you want to see?
Oh, that is easy, my friend. That is super easy. My number one requested future crossover, hear me out, hear me out. A Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites crossover,
Ooh,
hands down.
that's a good one.
Yes, make it happen. Make it happen.
I can totally see that. Oh my god, let that hope work.
I felt that it could work the most. Like it could. I felt that it has the best potential out of the future crossovers that I want to see. The reason being is that not just because it's by the same guy, Justin Roiland, but they also work as well because they have the same tone, they have the same style of humor, and they have a lot of sci-fi elements worked into both of these shows. So honestly, I feel that both these shows can very well mesh together because it's two shows in which anything can happen, especially with Rick and Morty, when you have Rick going through many parallels, many dimensions, many adventures. I feel that Rick and Morty being integrated into Solar Opposites can really work.
Well, again, they were both made by Justin Roiland, so Justin Roiland could have a good idea to actually have maybe the Solar Opposites people come over to Rick and Morty. That's a possibility because Rick and Morty does have more seasons coming up, and Solar Opposites it's currently huge in Hulu right now. So two different networks, but the same creator. I mean, it could happen. I can totally see that.
I think so too. Yeah. Another thing that too that people point out is Amphibia and Owl House.
Oh.
And what do you think about that, Amphibia and Owl House? Do you think it could work?
Two crossover universes. I don't think it can, unless you want to have Luz and King just randomly go into the Amphibia world and they met up with Anne and Spring and have wacky adventures.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, I could see Luz and Ida and King being integrated into the Amphibian universe. I cannot see Anne and the Planters being integrated into the Owl House at all. Because Amphibia is focused on amphibians.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna happen. That's like kind of a long shot, but if they ever actually do make a crossover episode like that, I want to see how it works because they both are really good episodes. They're really good shows, but to have a crossover episode with those two franchises might be a little bit worrisome to me. In my case.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's best to just leave both shows as is. Like, leave those shows be in their own universes. In my opinion, I think that's the best way to do it.
Oh yeah, but like I said, there's a lot of possibilities of crossovers. I know LoudCasa and Casagrandes will probably have a lot more crossovers coming up, but to say the least, a crossover episode ain't bad. It's just the way you make it, and you just hope it's not like something of a marketing ploy for every network to do.
Another thing I want to point out is that another crossover we forgot to mention, the Simpsons and Futurama crossover. Like
Ooh.
that one was just okay.
But then again, Futurama. Wait, that was a long time ago, right? Futurama and Simpsons actually did one.
Futurama and Simpsons, they did their crossover sometime after Simpsons Guy. Then there was Simpsons Orama, and honestly, unlike Simpsons Guy, there was a reason for the Simpsons and Futurama crossover to exist because at least there's a justifiable reason, and that's Matt Groening. Like Matt Groening, who is one of my favorite cartoonists, he's one of my favorite animators. Like Matt Groening created both these shows, so there was some sort of reason for both these shows to have a crossover.
Okay, well, I didn't actually see that, so I mean, from your take, it looks like it was something that was special.
It was better than Simpsons Family Guy for sure, like way better. But
I think it's just the fact that Matt Groening both created Futurama and Simpsons, and it worked out. So yeah. All right, so that's pretty much it for our talk about crossovers. Let's head over to our fan reactions post. Now, we did put up a tweet about what crossovers did you like and did you not like. So let's head over to some of the answers that we have here. This person, my chiller, let's bring her up here, answered like this. The Flintstones meet the Jetsons is a fun and also strange special. The Jimmy Timmy Power Hour specials were great. The OKKO one with Ben and Raven was really nice, and the Rugrats Go Wild was disappointing. I like both shows, but the movie just didn't work.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with the Rugrats Go Wild one. I brought up before that it could have worked, but it really didn't for all the reasons I just pointed out. As for Flintstones Meet the Jetsons, I actually haven't seen that, but I've heard that it was a hit back then. As for OK Kaomi, Ben, Raven, and all that stuff,
that was actually
the Cartoon Network crossover, the major Cartoon Network crossover.
Yeah, I thought that was actually a pretty wise idea. Like the fact that they had like Garnet, Raven, Ben, and OKKO try to fix Cartoon Network universe, which I thought was a huge nostalgia factor for every Cartoon Network fan out there. I mean, you saw. You saw I Am Weeble, you saw Cow Chicken, you saw Hi Puffy Hamiyumi all appear in that one episode for just one little cameo, but it was like, okay, you really went all out with this Cartoon Network crossover here.
Yeah, honestly, like that's the reason why I really loved this huge Cartoon Network crossover, because it was a huge nostalgia factor for me too. And as someone who grew up with Cartoon Network and still like Cartoon Network to this day, like honestly, this was something that, you know, I just couldn't help but just fangasm at.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. All right, so let's move on to another answer here. This is from Blizzard MFG, Ronnie Enninson. That's his tag. He said,
good guy.
Phineas and Ferb, Milo Murphy's Law, and Jimmy Timmy Power Hour are good crossovers. Oh, actually, we talked about Jimmy Timmy Power Hour a lot. How about the Phineas and Ferb, Milo Murphy's Law crossover? Have you seen that one?
I actually haven't. I haven't seen any of the Phineas and Ferb crossovers because I sort of quit the show a long time ago because I got tired of its repetitive formula, to be honest. But to all the Phineas and Ferb fans watching, you know, like, it's nothing against you or anything. If you like it, that's awesome. You know, I understand its appeal, but it just wasn't for me. And if you do enjoy these crossovers, that's awesome too.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Phineas and Ferb for quite a while. But all I know is that Phineas and Ferb did make a lot of crossovers. I mean, Milo Murphy's Law and Phineas and Ferb, I know they made from the same creator, so good job there. But the Phineas and Ferb did make a lot of crossovers. And this one here, he's actually here on our YouTube. He did put this comment out. Oh, sorry. The Phineas and Ferb Effect, a crossover between Milo Murphy's Law and Phineas and Ferb, both created by Def Robert. The episode alone has a positive review, but unfortunately for me personally, after the crossover, most of season 2 have turned sour due to the appearance of Doofenshmirtz more after the crossover episode, and it left a mark that the show lost its creativity throughout season 2 and leaving it through. Oh, that's a lot of words. Yeah, I can't say that much. Okay, I get it.
It's a rant. Yeah,
I get it. It's a rant.
TLDR, buddy.
Yeah.
TLDR.
Yeah, to say that. Well, here we go. It's oh, sorry, that's the guy here. In simple language,
good friend of mine.
In simple language, it sucked in the end of the crossover episode. I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't know about this, but I guess it was bad.
I wouldn't know either, man. But hey, shout out to Real Gilbert again. Like, thank you so much for your input. I'm proud to have you as one of my friends in the fandom. Love you, bro.
Well, there's actually a lot more Phineas and Ferb comments here. Here's another person that also did want to bring up his points on the Phineas and Ferb little crossover things that's going on with them. This one here. Phineas and Ferb was the first Disney cartoon to have a crossover with both Marvel and Star Wars. The Marvel crossover isn't great, but is a fun popcorn special regardless. The Star Wars crossover, however, was perfect in many ways. One of the best things the show has done. I felt that they were milking Phineas and Ferb with having Marvel and Star Wars characters. I don't know about you. How did you feel? How did you think about this idea with having them cross with 2 universes?
Honestly, I didn't even bother to check it out because I know for a fact that just by looking at them, you could tell that they're really milking not just Phineas and Ferb, but the fact that they own Marvel and Star Wars. So I feel that
This is more of a marketing
on
play.
like honestly, there's like a whole bunch of milk cartons like all combined together in a grocery store. That's pretty much what you get with Phineas. That's pretty much Phineas and Ferb crossovers in a nutshell with Marvel and Star Wars. It's just all the milk cartons in all combined together in a big grocery store.
I just kind of felt that Phineas and Ferb really dipped right after like more episodes came out. It's like what were they thinking having more episodes of them crossing over with two universes, making it like a cool special? Apparently, it's not. It just felt like Phineas and Ferb kind of dipped. I mean, you watched Phineas and Ferb. Do you feel the same way?
Like I used to be a fan of Phineas and Ferb when I was younger, but then as I grew older and as I kept watching the show, I realized how repetitive and predictable that it was. So as a result, I sort of quit watching and moved on to much better shows, in my opinion. But all I gotta say is that in terms of crossovers, like seriously, if you want to watch a Star Wars parody or a Star Wars crossover with another show of any kind, like honestly, just another take of Star Wars from another show in general. Like honestly, Family Guy and Robot Chicken are the two shows that do it the best.
Right. I think when you come to parody shows, that's a different story actually for parody shows like South Park, for example. But to say the least, crossovers are pretty much endless. You can't really do much when it comes to crossovers. But to say the least, everybody have seen a crossover before, and I thought it turned out to be pretty well. And to say like I said before, LoudCasa and Casagrandes are going to have a big, huge presence of crossovers happening later on this season.
Hey, Nate, I gotta turn off my AirPods because I'm running out of battery. We talked so much about this show.
I know, but no worry, we're about to sign off. We're about to sign off for now. All right. Anyways, for those who are checking out the stream, thank you very much for checking out the stream. For those who are listening on our podcast, thank you very much for listening in. Reminder that you can check out our LoudCasa Talks podcast on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you listen to podcasts. So our next week, since 2020 is about to come to a close, it's time for our best of 2020 episode. We'll be looking back at all the great LoudCasa and Casagrandes moments that 2020 has given us and what to look forward to in 2021.
So stay tuned for that. And your love and support means so much to us. So thank you so much, Loud Crown and Casa Crew. You guys are the best. We love you so much.
All right. So thank you very much for checking out the stream. My name is Nate.
And this is Omid saying thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, smell you later, dudes.
All right. We'll see you guys on the next episode. See you guys.